Chapter 370. A year later, a dark horse suddenly appeared in the endless universe. An army of 10 million, with the weakest being at the immortal gate realm, swept through everything like a swarm of locusts. Everywhere they passed, no one would refuse to submit. When they reached a star region, they would forcefully reorganize the experts and support a leader, forming a banner of Lulan. Wherever the banner was inserted, anyone who dared to invade would suffer a devastating blow, including the reclusive clans. They were so powerful that the other major forces were wary. The army of 10 million immortal sects had 10,000 people in a small team. They could instantly kill a divine martial perfection expert. Once a boundary emperor was surrounded, he couldn't even kill a single soldier before he was killed by the army. The Yin-Yang 8 tribes lost 2 boundary emperors consecutively and chose to compromise with the Lulan cavalry. The world was divided into 5, and no one was willing to back down. Lu Outyin held a long sword in his hand and exuded the majesty of an emperor. When he arrived on the battlefield, his aura was so powerful that even Xinnong and Qingyan were shocked. They no longer looked down on Lu Outyin. The situation of the world changed from then on. Lu Lan had the advantage of numbers and unity. Even if they occupied a star, after a short period of assimilation, their hearts were still on Lu Lan's side. After all, Lu Lan's army was strict and its laws were strict. If a Star Lord committed a crime, he would be sentenced to death. The experts and living beings under the Lulan dynasty saw hope and were extremely supportive of Lulan. The name of Lu King resounded throughout the endless universe. In the 100th year of the Age of Emperor's fall, the Lulan army planted their flag in the imperial realm. The structure of the endless universe changed drastically. The remnant sect, the Yin-Yang 8 tribes, and even the divine ghost sect's territories were greatly suppressed. In order to suppress the Lulan army, the 3 great emperors joined forces to force the Lulan army into a standoff with 10 million Lulan cavalrymen. Lu King, don't go too far. Lulan doesn't even have a great emperor-level expert and very few boundary emperors. Don't you think you don't know your place by fighting over territory with us? Tianmu and Xinglua didn't know Lu Outyin's origins. They only knew that the Lulan dynasty had appeared out of nowhere. No intelligence network could infiltrate Lulan to find out Lu Outyin's true identity. Otherwise, once they knew that Lu Outyin had a relationship with Yi Qinghan, they wouldn't think of negotiating to get Lu Outyin to give up a powerful star region. Humph. How can we allow a junior like you to wantonly trample on the territory that we risked our lives to protect? The 6 Calamities Azure Dragon shouted angrily as he stared at the Lulan army. At this moment, the Lulan army had set up the god-slaying formation. Anyone who dared to rush in would die tragically, including the monarch-level experts. Hence, he did not want to force Lu Outyin too much. As long as Lu Outyin was willing to give in, he would be satisfied. Yin-Yang Dongfei narrowed his eyes as he looked at the Lulan army. No one knew what he was thinking, but he did not speak. Lu Aotian and Xinnong Qingyan flew into the sky. They were a golden boy and a jade girl. Their battle prowess was extraordinary. One of them had the aura of an emperor, while the other was so holy that even emperor-level experts would not dare to look at her directly. Yin-Yang Dongfei, 6 Calamity Azure Dragon, and the others looked at each other and whispered, "What powerful individual combat strength. They didn't even appear in the Great War several years ago. Don't force me to make a move. From today onwards, I declare that the sovereign domain will be the boundary of the ancestral land. This side is my territory, and that side is yours. Do not cross realms, and do not send people to assassinate my soldiers. Otherwise, the consequences will be severe." Lu Outyin had already investigated the current situation. He knew that the Yin-Yang 8 tribes were traitors. The remnant sect under Tianmu and Xinglua were just opportunists. In the war that year, the remnant sect suffered the least losses. Now they were considered the strongest force. Hence, they were very strong and unwilling to negotiate. "Are you going to fight against the 3 major forces?" Yin-Yang Dongfei threatened. Lu Outyin's lips curled up. His crown shone with golden light, looking majestic like an emperor. "A traitor like you dares to be so arrogant? Is this a fight between you and me? If it weren't for the 2 seniors' contributions to the human race, I wouldn't want to offend them. With just you? I can uproot the Yin-Yang 8 tribes within a year. Lu Outyin scolded in disdain. Impudent brat. Yin-Yang Dongfei roared with killing intent. Lu Outyin smiled indifferently. He waved his sword and said to 6 Calamity Azure Dragon and Xinglua, Seniors, you've made great contributions to the battle against the undead. Don't ruin your reputation for a despicable person. If the two of you leave now, after I uproot the Yin-Yang 8 tribes, all their territories will belong to the 2 seniors. Lu Outyin's intention was very clear. Today he wanted Yin-Yang Dongfei to stay. He had this confidence because there was a terrifying girl standing beside him. She was the daughter of Shinnong Qingyan. If they could tie down Yin-Yang Dongfei, this sovereign expert wouldn't be able to escape once he was surrounded by the god-slaying formation. However, if 6 Calamity Azure Dragon and Xinglua didn't want to leave, the price to kill Yin-Yang Dongfei would be too high. It would be good if several tens of thousands of Lulan Iron Cavalry remained. How could 6 Calamity Azure Dragon and Xinglua be willing to retreat? The Lulan dynasty was too strong. With so many people, they could easily kill them. Moreover, they had already seen the power of the god-slaying formation. They didn't want to be defeated by Lu Outyin one by one. Swoosh 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 that the people of the insane sect rushed from the back, drawing their swords and confronting the 3 sovereign experts. The current insane sect had gathered all the elites in the world. The geniuses of the 10 great saint lands either chose to join the insane sect or the ancient massacre god in order to protect themselves. Everyone knew that the insane sect was the gathering place of the super experts. Among the 30 people, the weakest one was a young man like Shaoli, who was only 10 years old. In terms of combat strength, Si Wuxia, Xia Ziluo and Jian Qinxue were the strongest. There was no doubt that the 3 of them would fight sooner or later, but now wasn't the time. Brother Outyin, it's really you. When I heard the name Lulan, I felt that it was familiar. I didn't expect it to be you. Yi Mengxi rushed over as if she had seen her family. She hugged Lu Outyin and cried bitterly. Lu Outyin patted Yi Mengxi's shoulder and said hoarsely, Mengxi, I will avenge your brother sooner or later. For now, you should leave first. After a few days, I will bring you back to Owl Falling Star to see your mother. I don't need to leave. I have brought the people of the insane sect to help you. If you want to kill them, you can leave one of them to the insane sect. Yi Mengxi looked at Yin-Yang Dongfei with hatred. The insane sect and the ancient massacre god had always wanted to kill this traitor. Unfortunately, Yin Yunbei had failed to assassinate him several times and escaped. Zifei hugged her dagger looking valiant and heroic. Compared to Xia Ziluo, she was less murderous but more peaceful. Everyone liked her. Xia Ziluo clenched her fists. She did not want to give up the chance to kill Yin-Yang Dongfei. In terms of hatred, she hated traitors the most. If it were not for them, the Heavenly Dragon Sacred Dynasty might not have been destroyed and Xia Qintian might not have died. Shinnong Qingyan looked at the people from the crazy sect and nodded slightly. These people who had experienced killing had all stepped through blood and bones, and were close to hell. Their combat strength was superb and was still acceptable. Especially Tan Wuxia and Xia Ziluo. Their auras were so strong that people could not raise their heads. They were definitely the best candidates to prove their Tao. When the people of the insane sect came, the 3 great experts had to form an alliance. Otherwise, no one could compete with the people of the insane sect. In terms of individual battle strength, we have plenty of opportunities. Let's find a chance to kill a few superb experts first. There is no need to fight them head-on. Retreat. Yin-Yang Dongfei sneered. He did not want to be entangled. The 6 disasters Azure Dragon nodded. In order to maintain the balance, they had to maintain a subtle alliance with the traitor Yin-Yang Dongfei. The 3 great experts retreated together. With the ancestral land and the eternal battlefield as the boundary, they faced each other in different areas. The Lulan's flag fluttered in the wind. It was very powerful, supporting the monarch domain. Shinnong Qingyan stepped into the ancient killing god. When Dishang learned of her identity, he was shocked speechless. A person from the barbaric era was simply unbelievable. However, thinking of Shinnong's heaven-defying methods, it seemed that there was nothing that the human ancestors could not do. Immemorial purgatory, Huanzhu's house. Yi Qinghan was dressed in white. He was cultivating a secret technique that he had comprehended while watching peerless creatures dance in the extreme heaven sea. His movements looked elegant and pleasing to the eye, but it could also heal the body and calm the mind quickly. These days, Yi Qinghan did not do anything else. He just focused on healing his injuries. His soul had almost recovered, but when he used his divine sense, he still felt a faint pain. These days, Qi Bingfei could be said to have gone crazy. She brought the parrot to Coldwater Star in Purgatory, finding large amounts of 7th-grade ancient herbs, several 8th-grade herbs, and even 2 top-grade 8th-grade herbs. However, Qi Bingfei did not know that, because the parrot had secretly tricked her. Qi Bingfei's combat strength had improved by leaps and bounds under the parrot's tutelage. She already had the strength of a pseudo-superclass expert, but there was still a large gap between her and a superclass expert. Sai, you're so unteachable. How can you prove your Tao with such strength? Whether or not you can become a fake emperor is still a question. The parrot seemed to have expected better from Qi Bingfei. It purposely led Qi Bingfei to dangerous places. Although it was not fatal, it was definitely very dangerous. Qi Bingfei was about to cry because of the parrot. Her clothes were tattered and hung on her body. Fortunately, there was no one around. Otherwise, Qi Bingfei would not have the face to see anyone. Divine bird, let's go back. The immortal sect robes I brought are all broken. I only have one left. I don't dare to change. If it breaks again, how can I leave purgatory? Qi Bingfei pleaded. She had already run to the central part of purgatory. Without the parrot's guidance, Qi Bingfei could not leave. She could only ask the parrot for help. Tisk tsk, your figure is not bad. So big and white. It's a pity I'm not a man. Otherwise, I would have pushed you down today. The parrot stared at Qi Bingfei wretchedly. It made her anxious and angry. She wanted nothing more than to slap it away. Qi Bingfei's face and ears were red. She crossed her arms to hide her embarrassment. She was flustered and exasperated. I'll take you to the Arc Mountain Range. There are indeed treasures there. 6th grade honey. Tsk, this is good stuff. I've been craving it for a long time. Recently, my strength has increased greatly. I've decided to go in and discuss with the Bee Emperor whether or not she can give me a few hundred gene. This thing has miraculous effects on all kinds of injuries. The parrot said fearlessly. Qi Bingfei thought of the miserable appearance of those people, and felt a chill. She did not even have her immortal sect robes. Wasn't running there looking for abuse. Chapter 371. Qi Bingfei wrapped herself in leaves like a savage. She flew over the cliff and arrived in front of the mountain range. Why don't you go in and talk to the queen bee yourself? I don't want the honey. You can keep it all. Qi Bingfei smiled bitterly. No. There are so many of them. I can't handle them all. You and I will work together. You guard the back and I will block the front and the sides. The parrot refused without hesitation. Qi Bingfei had no choice. She didn't dare to go against the parrot's will. She was afraid that it would lead her into a deep pit, and she would jump in without hesitation. One person and one bird carefully walked into the mountain range. The parrot took out its special skill, the reincarnation mirror. After swallowing a 7th-rank ancient medicine, the parrot's spiritual energy was overwhelming. It was like a living spirit medicine. True essence poured out, and it could activate the reincarnation mirror at any time to sweep the world. As soon as they entered the valley, the sky darkened. Countless poisonous bees covered the sky and covered the earth. The buzzing sound made one's scalp numb. Buzz, buzz, buzz. In an instant, Qi Bingfei was surrounded. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. True essence poured out, and sword Qi wrapped around the back to kill the poisonous bees. You bastard! Why did you have to come in? There are so many of them. How can I kill them all? Qi Bingfei was mad and roared. Watch this divine bird. Once the divine bird comes out, 10,000 reincarnations. Whoosh! A beam of black light shot out from the reincarnation mirror, obliterating everything. Everywhere it passed, even the sky became silent. Countless poisonous bees dissipated. The reincarnation mirror continued to scan the valley. The arc-shaped mountain range continued to collapse, shaking the heavens and the earth. Boom! The mountain range in front was swallowed by the reincarnation mirror. Countless lives fell into the hell of reincarnation. Any living thing that appeared in the parrot's line of sight was destroyed. Whoosh! A shrill sound echoed through the mountains and rivers. Countless poisonous bees retreated, and the dark clouds dispersed. The parrot was extremely arrogant. It shook the reincarnation mirror on its claw and laughed. Kikik, Queen Bee, this divine bird has always been fair. Let's discuss something. Give me 300 kilograms of queen bee honey, and this divine bird will leave. Otherwise, I will burn your nest down. Whoosh! The parrot suddenly opened its small mouth and spat out a large flame. The 8th rank flames drowned the front, and the scorching temperature instantly melted the forest. Whoosh whoosh whoosh! The queen hurriedly screamed, as if it was begging for mercy, but also angry. Qi Bingfei was sweating profusely. This bird was really asking for a beating. How was this a negotiation? This was clearly a threat. Whoosh! When the parrot heard the queen bee's cry, it took a deep breath and swallowed the fire back. The scorching heat instantly burned Qi Bingfei's clothes. Fuck you! Roared Qi Bingfei. She grabbed the parrot and flung it out of the way. Ignoring everything else, she summoned her final Taoist robe from the Immortal Society and put it on. Her breasts heaved, and her face was as red as the setting sun. The parrot spun around and then flew back up onto Qi Bingfei's shoulder. Its vulgar eyes flickered as it realized that it was in the wrong, and therefore, didn't dare to provoke her any further. Ahem. I forgot. But I didn't see anything. The parrot vowed. Qi Bingfei was already too weak to even open her mouth to speak. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. I only have one last robe left. If you dare to destroy it again, I will pluck all your feathers and make a new robe. Roared Qi Bingfei. Don't worry. This divine bird won't do anything. The queen bee has already discussed with me. It will give me 15 kilograms of queen bee honey and 300 kilograms of 5th grade honey. For you, I have decided not to bargain with it. The parrot took advantage of the situation, and then looked into the depths, waiting for the queen bee to send the bees to deliver the honey. Soon a large number of fist-sized bees appeared in 2 stone troughs filled with sticky honey. One of the bigger troughs was 5th grade honey, and the other was queen bee honey. This kind of thing had never appeared in the outside world. Even a quasi-emperor wouldn't dare to fight against so many bees. Only the parrot, with its reincarnation mirror and 8th grade fire source, dared to arrogantly discuss with the queen bee. Whoosh! The parrot didn't hesitate to take it all away. It was so fast that Qi Bingfei was stunned. I don't have a share? Qi Bingfei glared at the parrot and asked coldly. Yes. Absolutely. Everyone has a share. But let's go back and divide it. How about it? The parrot promised. Qi Bingfei gritted her teeth and cursed in her heart. Damn Yi Qinghan, what kind of lowly bird did you take in? Sooner or later, you will be cheated to death by it. In the Huanzhou residence, Yi Qinghan sneezed. He couldn't help but be surprised. How could someone who cultivated to this level catch a cold? Who is cursing me? Yi Qinghan scratched his head, feeling somewhat baffled. This was the 11th day in the immemorial purgatory, and also the day when the Tao discussion competition was about to begin. Yi Qinghan's soul had been fully restored. Although his strength was not at its peak, the 4 divine beasts under him were at their peak. If they joined forces with Yi Qinghan, it would be very difficult to deal with an emperor. There was no chance, but it was easy to escape from a quasi-emperor. Half a day later, the parrot and Qi Bingfei returned. Master, I brought back some good things for you. The parrot's face was full of flattery. It secretly gave a top 8th grade ancient medicine to Yi Qinghan, afraid that Qi Bingfei would see it. Humph, shameless. Don't think that I don't know your goal every time you act alone. If you want a top 8th grade ancient medicine, then so be it. I don't care. I'm already satisfied with an ordinary 8th grade ancient medicine. But you don't have to guard against me like I'm a thief. Qi Bingfei was angry at the parrot's attitude and couldn't help but snort. Ha ha ha, fairy, don't be angry. This guy hides things from me, let alone you. Yi Qinghan laughed. This guy is too lowly. Qi Bingfei glared at the parrot and said with shame and indignation. Humph. You dare to curse a divine bird. Be careful that I don't reveal all your ugly deeds. The parrot was angry and immediately threatened. Qi Bingfei sucked in a breath of cold air. Her face was red and her breathing was rapid. She was speechless for a long time. All right, fairy, don't bother with it. After a few days together, you must have understood it. If you get angry with it, you'll die from anger. Yi Qinghan smiled bitterly and shook his head. Fairy, the Tao discussion competition is about to start. How about we go and take a look? Flying Afterglow Mountain. There was a Flying Afterglow villa here. It was the only holy land on the Coldwater Star, a holy land for cultivation. There were thousands of experts gathered here, from quasi-emperors to immortal sections. The old were past their prime and the young were full of passion. At the highest point, 2 old men sat. One of them was the leader of the Heavenly Demon League, a shape-shifting expert. No one knew what his true form was. They only knew that he was respectfully called the Demon Emperor. After he took control of the Heavenly Demon League, the Heavenly Demon Clan was unusually united. Experts came out in large numbers and young elites came out in large numbers, crushing the edge of the human race. The leader of the Heavenly Human League was a weathered old man. He was Xian Yuanjun, a top expert of the human race. His cultivation had already reached the peak of the quasi-emperor realm. He had yet to reach the emperor realm, and was on par with the demon emperor. A group of elites sat cross-legged on the ground, waiting for the competition to start. This time, the Tao discussion competition was divided into 3 stages. The first stage was the discussion of the Tao between the 2 peak quasi-emperors. The second stage was the debate of the younger generation. The third stage was the battle of the elites. The true elites would be selected and nurtured by the 2 races. Brother Xianyuan, we have stayed in this prison for long enough. I hope we can walk out of the immemorial purgatory in our lifetime. The demon emperor's eyes were like stars as he looked directly at Xianyuan and transmitted his voice. Our 2 races have spent a lot of effort in order to walk out of this prison. I also hope that this generation can fulfill the instructions of our ancestors. Xianyuan nodded and transmitted his voice in reply. The demon emperor glanced at a young shape-shifting heavenly demon and said in a hoarse voice, "There are a few very good young experts in this generation. I am very satisfied. If the heavenly demon Xian Qing with the black tortoise bloodline does not disappoint me this time, I will do my best to help him attain his Tao." On the surface, the human race has 3 or 4 experts. However, they are not the ones that I am interested in. Xianyuan said mysteriously with a faint smile. Oh, there are still ultimate experts of the human race that have not appeared? Are they stronger than Xiao Songhai and the others? The demon emperor asked in surprise. There is a little girl by Heavenly Venerate Howling Moon's side. Do you remember Qin Nuanqin? Xianyuan asked indifferently. I remember. That little girl is only about 10 years old. She has not fought enough. Why? Is she very strong? The demon emperor was surprised. He remembered that little girl because Heavenly Venerate Howling Moon would bring her along wherever he went. She looked like a mortal and did not have any spirit energy fluctuations. If she was placed in a crowd, no one would notice her. It was because of this that everyone remembered such a little girl. She was deeply loved by a quasi-emperor expert. I have also never seen her fight. However, from what I know, this little girl is probably not ordinary. I believe that she will definitely fight in today's sparring session, Xianyuan said confidently. Just as the 2 of them were discussing, 2 humans stepped into the Flying Clouds villa. One of them was a white-haired old man, and the other was a girl who looked at most 11 or 12 years old. She was as pure as a piece of jade without any flaws. Other than this, there was nothing special about the little girl. The old man smiled and looked very benevolent. He looked at the 2 supreme existences and bowed slightly. He cupped his fists and said, "Howling Moon greets the 2 of you." Ha ha ha, Heavenly Venerate Howling Moon. There is no need to be so polite. Come and sit. I specially saved a seat for you, the demon emperor said with a laugh. Xianyuan stood up to welcome them. He gave Heavenly Venerate Howling Moon enough face. The thousands of young elites in the martial arts arena also stood up and bowed. Yi Qinghan and Qi Bingfei had joined forces. Many people did not have much of a reaction to the news of Shui Chen's resurrection. This was because Xiao Songhai and the others had surrounded Yi Qinghan for revenge. They had already spread the news of Xue Chen's resurrection. They hoped that the experts who had attacked Xue Chen would attack again and kill him completely. The divine bird sat on Yi Qinghan's shoulder. Its shifty eyes flickered as it realized that the Flying Clouds Villa was indeed a good place. There were many treasures. There was a herb garden for 7th grade ancient herbs that were planted in batches. There were also many 8th grade ancient herbs, all of which were rare and strange and full of medicinal properties. This was the result of the Celestial Alliance's countless years of accumulation. After all, the environment in this prison was extremely bad. If they did not plan ahead, the herbs would run out sooner or later. Chapter 372. Qi Bingfei and Yi Qinghan blended into the crowd in a low-key manner. The divine bird was also very quiet. It only wanted to see what the others had to say. The first stage was the Demon Emperor and Xianyuan Jun's lecture on the Tao. They explained their understanding of the Great Tao and their secret techniques. Yi Qinghan listened carefully. Because the people of the immemorial purgatory were small, many of the immemorial secret techniques had not been lost. The immemorial Tao was difficult to understand. Even the Demon Emperor and Xianyuan Jun were very vague. The Great Tao they explained was superficial. Their understanding of the Great Tao was inferior to his. However, even a mosquito's leg was meat. Yi Qinghan hungrily absorbed the insights of others to strengthen his own Great Tao. We cultivate in defiance of the heavens. If we don't advance, we will fall behind. If we want to cultivate the Tao, we need willpower, talent, and luck. None of these can be lacking. I hope that everyone can work together, the Demon Emperor said in a deep voice after speaking for a while. Yes, Brother Demon Emperor is right. If we want to cultivate the Tao, we need to understand the Tao and the secret techniques. As for the deeper profoundness, it is not convenient to talk about it in front of everyone. Today's Tao discussion competition is to find geniuses that can be nurtured. I hope that you all will do your best and display your true strength, Xianyuan Jun said indifferently. Everyone looked at the two peak experts excitedly. They all hoped to gain the favor of a consummation quasi-emperor. Yi Qinghan glanced around and found that there were indeed a few superclass existences here. Xianqing Si was a famous cultivator, and everyone on the Coldwater planet knew about him. He had a monstrous cultivation base and an enchanting face. As he stood there, he looked like a deity, stealing everyone's attention. Aside from Xianqingxi, there were 3 other people who caught Yi Qinghan's attention. One of them was Qin Wanxin. She was about the same age as Emperor Yi when he first met her. However, her cultivation made Yi Qinghan's hair stand on end. When he exchanged glances with Qin Wanxin, his eyes were like needles. Clearly, Yi Qinghan also caught her attention. However, she did not say anything. She only glanced at him and did not pay him any attention. The third peak expert was a man wearing a fire dragon battle robe. He looked like an active volcano. Although he looked calm, his bloodline was like a violent fire dragon. Once it erupted, it could annihilate countless experts at any time. This person caught Yi Qinghan's attention. This man's earth element was abnormally dense. His palm was filled with fire runes. He definitely had something to do with the quasi-emperor, who had attacked Xue Chen. The last superclass expert was very low-key, and had been hiding in the crowd the entire time. He looked sloppy, like a spoiled brat, but Yi Qinghan could sense that although he was in the early divine martial realm, his cultivation base was definitely on the same level as Violet Heavens. Even if he was weaker, it wouldn't be by much. His understanding of the Tao of the Archean far surpassed that of the others. Fairy Bingfei, who is that man wearing a white robe? Yi Qinghan looked at that person and asked in a low voice. Qi Bingfei curiously looked over and saw that person. He was a crane in a flock of chickens. His clothes were exaggerated, and his behavior was also extremely exaggerated. He mixed in with the female cultivators. His flattering expression made people want to vomit. She could not help but sneer. It's Lu Xuanhuan. This name is really correct. No one knows a son better than his father. His father seems to be able to foresee the future. That's why he gave him such a name. Oh, can you explain in detail? Yi Qinghan asked curiously. Qi Bingfei looked at Yi Qinghan in astonishment. She did not understand why he would pay attention to a hooligan, but she still explained. His name is Lu Xuanhuan. His father is respectfully called Willow Deity. It is said that the Lu family seems to have the bloodline of a willow tree demon. Later on, they intermarried with humans and gave birth to the Lu family bloodline. Their Lu family's vitality is abnormally strong. Their average lifespan is more than twice that of others. Adding on the fact that the Lu family's men are handsome and the women are beautiful. The men of the Lu family have groups of wives and concubines. The women are also extremely loose. There is nothing else to say. Don't underestimate him. He is very strong. If you underestimate him, he will definitely instantly kill you. Yi Qinghan smiled. I don't believe it. I have fought with him a few times, and each time I suppressed him. Qi Bingfei snorted in disbelief. You will understand very soon. Yi Qinghan did not explain. He turned his gaze to the man in the fire dragon battle robe and asked again. Which force does the man in the fire dragon battle robe belong to? Qi Bingfei frowned, a look of disgust in her eyes as she replied disdainfully. It's someone from the Fire Dragon Valley. His name is Long Yuan, half human and half beast. He has the bloodline of the dragon tribe, and the bloodline of the snake tribe. He's a mixed breed. On the surface he looks like a gentleman, but in reality, he's a person with an extremely unsightly private life. He's much worse than Lu Xuanhuan. At least Lu Xuanhuan wouldn't force him. This person is used to taking things by force. He's secretly plotted against me a few times, but Xuechen unintentionally ruined his plans. Last time, you said that Xuechen was killed by the fiery sword Qi. Yi Qinghan nodded. He glanced at Long Yuan from the corner of his eyes, and found that he was also staring at him. The hostility in his eyes was very strong, and he did not hide his killing intent. It seems that Xuechen has some other enmity with the Fire Dragon Valley. Otherwise, the Quasi-Emperor would not have come personally. Yi Qinghan thought to himself. Qi Bingfei looked at the experts around her. Except for the well-known Xianqingxi, she did not pay attention to the others. After all, she had been trained by the parrot these days, and her battle strength had increased by more than 30%. She had already surpassed Xiaozonghai. She was a little excited and hoped to get guidance from the Xianyuan army. However, first of all, Yi Qinghan could not fight. She did not have the slightest confidence to deal with Yi Qinghan. Brother Yi, will you fight? Qi Bingfei asked expectantly. Yi Qinghan shook his head and whispered, I won't fight. When you fight, pay attention to Xianqingxi, the little girl next to the Quasi-Emperor, Long Yuan, and Lu Xuanhuan. The others should not be a match for you. Qi Bingfei curled her lips. She did not believe Yi Qinghan. Everyone knew that Qin Wanqin was a weak child. The Howling Moon Celestial Sovereign almost never left her side, fearing that something would happen to her. Her cultivation was obviously not strong, or perhaps she did not have any cultivation. I can't fight. Otherwise, I will definitely arouse the suspicion of some quasi-emperors. I don't want to arouse the hostility of so many quasi-emperors. I need you to become the top elite of the human race and obtain some information. So when you fight last, I will help you find their weaknesses. Yi Qinghan calmly transmitted his voice. Qi Bingfei's eyes flashed with excitement. Although she had never seen Yi Qinghan fight, she always believed that his battle strength was far superior to those of the same level. With his help, she would definitely be able to shine in this year's Dao discussion competition. The group of people discussed for about an hour. However, many people treasured what they knew. The second stage of the Dao discussion competition ended hastily and did not have any practical use. Then they entered the third stage. In this year's competition, only 2 to 3 people will be chosen. Only the strongest and most talented will be chosen. So everyone, don't hide your skills. Fight with all your might, regardless of life or death. As for why, everyone will understand in the future. Xianyuan Jun said indifferently. Everyone was stunned. They did not expect this year's competition to be so cruel. Regardless of life or death, this had never happened before. Everyone left the martial arts arena, leaving a huge empty space. At the beginning of the competition, a group of ordinary elites fought. Yi Qinghan did not pay attention to them. He only passed on a secret technique to Qi Bingfei. The ancient secret technique, sky-severing hand. He passed on all his understanding of the secret technique to her. He even continuously evolved the secret technique in her sea of consciousness, and passed on all its mysteries to her. You don't have to pay attention to the competition for now. Cultivate first. I don't expect you to defeat Qin Yuanxin. If it's a tie, Xian Yuanjun will naturally train you. Yi Qinghan said indifferently. Qi Bingfei quickly entered into a state of cultivation. She evolved the sky-severing hand in her sea of consciousness. The mysteries of the sky-severing hand kept churning in her sea of consciousness. With Yi Qinghan's guidance, she entered into a state of enlightenment. On the martial arts arena, people continued to fight. If they lost, they would be kicked out of the Flying Clouds villa. The winner would stay. There were only about 1,000 people in total. In just 2 hours, half of them had been eliminated. More than 10 people had died. Many people gave up on their own accord and chose to leave. In the end, there were less than 300 people left. Long Yuan finally could not bear it anymore. Xian Qingxi's power was well known. If he wanted to stand out in the competition, he would have to make a strong move and crush everyone. As expected, he attacked with the fiery sword Qi. It was the same inheritance as the one who had tried to assassinate Xuechen. This kind of fiery sword Qi was exactly the same as the one that was left in Xuechen's sea of consciousness. Yi Qinghan squinted his eyes and looked at Long Yuan. He was indifferent and did not reveal any strange expression. After Long Yuan attacked, he started to defend the arena. He used his actions to provoke Yi Qinghan one after another. He did not know that the person in front of him was not Xuechen but Yi Qinghan. The crowd looked at Yi Qinghan curiously. Based on Xuechen's character, he should have stepped up long ago after Long Yuan provoked him. Why was he so calm now? Xuechen, I will lower my cultivation to fight with you. Do you dare to accept my challenge? Long Yuan hugged his sword and looked at Yi Qinghan with disdain. His actions were provocative, but Yi Qinghan ignored it and attacked with his words. Yi Qinghan smiled indifferently and shook his head. He did not accept the challenge. Long Yuan attacked a few times, but he did not use his full strength. His combat strength was quite good, but it was nothing in front of Yi Qinghan. His flaws were not obvious, but he was not perfect. Long Yuan was not fast enough. At least in Yi Qinghan's eyes he was a little slow. If Yi Qinghan wanted to kill him, he could let the colorful snake attack and kill him in an instant. However, he did not want to attack. He wanted Qi Bingfei to step on his dead body to reach the top. What? Xuechen, aren't you very strong? Aren't you arrogant? Now that it is a battle of life and death, you don't dare to attack? What elite of the human clan? You are as timid as a mouse. It seems that Xiao Songhai and the others are nothing more than this. Long Yuan shouted disdainfully. The human clan's face turned ugly. They all glared at Yi Qinghan. Xiao Songhai was furious. He stepped directly into the martial arts arena and scolded coldly. Long Yuan, although Xuechen is on par with us, it is only because of the praise of outsiders. His opponents are all in the immortal realm. We do not approve of him. He does not represent the human clan. You should be more polite. So you can represent the human clan? Long Yuan asked disdainfully. Xiao Songhai was furious. He looked at Yi Qinghan with disdain, drew his sword, and stabbed at Long Yuan. Whether I can represent the human clan or not, it is not up to me. The sword in my hand will. The sword light was like lightning, stabbing straight at Long Yuan. Ant. The dragon abyss swordsmanship was swift and fierce, overbearing and fiery. The sword Qi of the raging fire sword burst out in an incomparably powerful manner. The dragon abyss swordsmanship hit Xiao Songhai's sword like a fierce dragon coming out of the water. Xiao Songhai's body sank, and his sword Qi sank. Die. Boom. After Long Yuan's sword hit Xiao Songhai's sword, it shot out a wisp of fiery sword Qi and poured into Xiao Songhai's sea of consciousness, forcibly destroying his soul. Xiao Songhai's eyes revealed a touch of horror. His sword had reached Long Yuan's sea of Qi, but it could not move an inch. Then he fell to the ground with a loud thud. The strongest man of the human race could not withstand a single blow. Everyone gasped. Even the experts of the Heavenly Demon Clan were shocked. They did not expect Long Yuan to be so strong. Long Yuan's mouth showed a hint of disdain. He put away his sword and looked at Yi Qinghan. He asked indifferently, "These are the 4 strongest human clan experts? Shuechen, do you still dare to attack? If not, get out of the Flying Clouds Villa." Chapter 373. Long Yuan's aggressive provocation had humiliated the entire human race. The Xianyuan army was somewhat dissatisfied. With such an attitude, how could he be kind to the human race? Qin Nuan was tempted. She raised her fingers and looked indifferently at Yi Qinghan and Long Yuan. She wanted to make a move but was suppressed by Howling Moon. The martial arts arena was silent. Long Yuan had killed Xiao Songhai in one move, and now it seemed that anyone who went up would be courting death. Xian Qingxi was also from the Heavenly Demon Clan, so he naturally would not make a move. Everyone looked at Yi Qinghan. Everyone knew that Shuechen was the strongest in the immortal realm, but Long Yuan suppressed his realm, so it seemed that only he could make a move. Yi Qinghan was still silent, and was even unwilling to respond. Such a person had angered the divine bird. Damn it, I've seen people courting death, but I've never seen such a lowly person who insists on going to hell. The divine bird was furious. It glared at Long Yuan and scolded disdainfully. My master is treating you as if you don't exist and is unwilling to make a move. Is your brain filled with water and flour? You'll turn into paste if you move? You're courting death. Pfft. Everyone laughed. The parrot's words were too vicious. What a cute parrot. Master, I want to come over. Qin Nuan covered her mouth and laughed crisply. The Xianyuan army smiled. After the parrot's ruckus, at least the human race's embarrassment had been alleviated. Long Yuan was furious. He clenched his iron fists and wished he could kill this stupid bird with his sword. Hee, treating me as if I don't exist? You don't dare to fight, so you let a little bird speak. Do you really think all the heroes in the world are fools? Long Yuan sneered disdainfully. I'm not treating you as a fool like everyone in the world is a fool. Oh no, I'm not treating you as a fool. You're clearly a fool. To deal with you, there's no need for my master to make a move. I can send you into the depths of purgatory with a slap, the parrot mocked. At the mention of the purgatory, the demon emperor and the Xianyuan army's eyes lit up. They knew that this was the immemorial purgatory. Other than the leaders of the Sky Demon League and the Sky Human League, no one else knew about it. After all, too much time had passed. Even the boundary emperors of the other forces did not know about it. How could this parrot know? Long Yuan didn't know that the purgatory the parrot was talking about was the demon spirit battlefield. He was completely enraged by its disdainful tone. He lost control of his emotions and shouted, "Good. Come, let me see how powerful you are. You don't need this divine bird's help to deal with you. These few days, I have casually trained one. You can fight me after you defeat her. If you can't even defeat the little girl that I casually trained, then don't come in front of me and make a fool of yourself." The divine bird raised its head and rolled its eyes. It believed that it was a wise almighty, so why would it fight with others? Long Yuan was so angry that he trembled. He was so angry that he could not wait to catch the divine bird and bring it to the training ground to stomp on it. Little Fei, get up and stretch your body. Remember what I've taught you these few days. Kill this little bastard so that he won't have the chance to talk nonsense in the future. The parrot did not care how angry Long Yuan was. It had no intention of fighting and directly called Qi Bingfei up. Yi Qinghan secretly thought about it. Qi Bingfei's talent was not bad. After being trained by the parrot, her battle strength had increased very quickly, now that she had learned the sky-severing hand, but without actual combat experience, it was unrealistic to rely on her to defeat Long Yuan, let alone kill him. Bingfei, his advantage is his raging fire sword Qi. It is overbearing and can destroy any attack from the enemy. Don't fight him head-on. His weakness is his speed. However, your speed might not be as fast as his, so you can only use tricks. He has a bad habit when he attacks, which is that he is too confident in his cultivation and doesn't want to defend. His armpit is wide open, so when you attack, first confuse him and let him think that you are going to fight him head-on. When you are about to collide with him, immediately change your move and change your sword style to pierce through his armpit. His battle strength will decrease by half. After you succeed, don't take any risks and quickly retreat. As long as you can force him to a draw, it will be enough. Do you understand? Do you understand? Yi Qinghan gently patted Qi Bingfei's shoulder and sent a strand of divine sense into her sea of consciousness, simulating the battle scene. Qi Bingfei listened carefully and also sensed carefully. She nodded, but she was proud and arrogant. If she could really injure the armpit of the sword user, how could she not take the risk and not want to completely defeat him? The divine bird also understood Qi Bingfei in these few days and knew that she would definitely take the risk. It flew to her shoulder and whispered, "You better listen to Master. If you dare to take the risk, I will strip you naked and throw you into the crowd. Don't believe me? This divine bird will make you jump into the pit of your own accord." Qi Bingfei's body trembled. She fiercely glared at the divine bird and walked into the arena with her sword. "Long Yuan, if you think that there is no one in the human race, then this little girl will come and fight. If I win, then I will talk big. If you can't even beat this little girl, then you are not afraid of being laughed at." Qi Bingfei said disdainfully, Qi Bingfei, you and I have fought a few times. When have you ever won? This time, I will not be merciful. Long Yuan said coldly and arrogantly. Things are different now. Let's talk about it after you win. Qi Bingfei drew her sword and took the initiative to attack. Whoosh! The sword move was gentle and could be used to advance or retreat. This was the strongest sword technique in Butterfly Valley, the butterfly chainsword technique. There were a total of 13 moves. Qi Bingfei had already cultivated it to the peak. Her sword moves were as smooth as flowing clouds and flowing water. Umph! Long Yuan snorted disdainfully. He clenched the raging fire sword in his right hand and poured out his vital energy. He used all his strength and slashed at Qi Bingfei at an extremely fast speed. He wanted to severely injure Qi Bingfei. Sure enough, Long Yuan's sword user did not defend at all. He attacked forcefully from above and wanted to kill Qi Bingfei with one strike. Several boundary emperors shook their heads. Although Long Yuan's flaw was very obvious, his speed and strength were enough to make up for it. At least in front of Qi Bingfei, it was not a flaw at all. Long Yuan's speed was not super fast. At least, it was not at Gu Qingyu's level. However, in Qi Bingfei's eyes, it was extremely fast. She could not catch the trajectory at all. Qi Bingfei attacked Long Yuan's raging fire sword forcefully. Just as they were about to collide, her sword suddenly changed. Her sword form drew a half moon and went straight up. She subconsciously believed Yi Qinghan's words. Her body dodged Long Yuan's attack, and she stabbed out with her sword. The scene at this moment was almost exactly the same as the scene that Yi Qinghan told her. Poochie! The butterfly sword sank into Long Yuan's armpit, and the raging fire sword fell. Ah! Long Yuan screamed. He waved his left hand and slapped Qi Bingfei's shoulder. The raging fire directly drowned Qi Bingfei's body. Qi Bingfei remembered Yi Qinghan's words. When her sword pierced Long Yuan's armpit, she pulled out her sword and stepped back. Although she did not remove all of Long Yuan's palm energy, she at least took away half of it. Thud thud thud. Qi Bingfei was pushed back more than 10 steps by the force. Her face was a little pale. She was glad that she listened to Yi Qinghan's words. Otherwise, if she was really hit by this palm, she would be skinned even if she did not die. Long Yuan was in trouble. The armpit of his sword user was penetrated. The sword qi contained some profound meaning of the order Great Tao. It directly changed the order of his body. It was impossible for him to recover in a short time. His combat strength was reduced by more than 50%. Long Yuan looked at Qi Bingfei in disbelief. Qi Bingfei clearly saw through everything and changed her move strangely. There were no signs at all. It was as if he deliberately collided with her sword. At this moment, the Demon King, Xianyuan army, and Howling Moon, who had been emotionless, were very surprised. This sword stab is so exquisite that even I did not expect it. Xianyuan army was shocked and applauded. Yes, this sword stab is at the peak of Sword Tao. Although there are some flaws, it is because her realm is not high enough and her true essence is not pure enough. This is nothing. It can be remedied in the future. However, it seems that she is a little unfamiliar with this move. It seems like it is her first time using this sword move, the Demon King exclaimed. It's precisely because it's her first time using this sword move that I'm surprised. I feel like her comprehension of the way of the sword has already reached the peak. At the very least, no one in the younger generation can surpass her. The Howling Moon Celestial nodded and gave a definite answer. Everyone looked at Qi Bingfei in shock. This sword stab was too exquisite. There were no flaws. It was as if she had seen through everything. Such foresight was admirable and astonishing. The parrot laughed and mocked. How is it? Little bastard. How dare you provoke this divine bird with your level of skill? You can't even beat the disciple I have been training for a few days. How dare you fight me? Long Yuan's face was pale. He covered his armpit with his left hand and circulated his true essence to his wound. However, he could not heal it in a short time because the great path of order was not something he could reach. Yi Qinghan had clearly made preparations before coming. He had tampered with Qi Bingfei's sword and wanted to make her the spokesperson. It was much better to have a local as the spokesperson. Qi Bingfei was delighted. She did not expect this move to be so exquisite. She only realized its benefits after using it. It was much more exquisite than the butterfly chain sword. At this moment, she admired Yi Qinghan to the extreme. She thought to herself, no wonder he can use the emperor corpse to fight a great emperor at the divine martial realm. His cultivation is probably not weaker than a boundary emperor. Yi Qinghan and Qi Bingfei looked at each other and nodded slightly, indicating that they could attack again and look for a flaw. Their exchange of glances did not attract anyone's attention because Yi Qinghan did not make a move despite Long Yuan's repeated provocations. Everyone disdained to pay attention to Yi Qinghan. However, Qin Wanxin noticed the exchange of glances between the two and could not help but be surprised. This move is indeed exquisite. Even I did not expect it. Qi Bingfei's battle strength was at most first class before. It was impossible for her to comprehend such a move. Could it be that Xuechen is helping her? Qin Wanxin looked at Yi Qinghan curiously. She felt that the Xuechen she saw this time was different from before. The current Xuechen did not have the slightest bit of impetuousness or arrogance. He was restrained like an unparalleled sword. It was fine if he did not move, but when he did, the world would collapse. Swish, 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 that everyone was still reminiscing about Qi Bingfei's previous move. At this moment, Qi Bingfei had consecutively slashed out more than 10 times. The swords were interlocked and there was no flaw to speak of. Each sword made up for the previous one's weakness, forcing people to take it head-on. Long Yuan's face was ashen. A hint of killing intent appeared at the corner of his mouth. He stopped healing his wounds and grabbed the Raging Flame sword with his left hand. He wildly slashed at Qi Bingfei, the Raging Flame sword igniting the surrounding air. Chapter 374. Crackle. The scorching heat spread to the periphery, and some of the weaker cultivators quickly flew back, not daring to face it head-on. At this moment, Long Yuan was no longer conceited and began to defend his armpit, forcing Qi Bingfei to dodge. In just a few breaths of time, she was pushed back more than 10 steps, looking extremely miserable. Yi Qinghan frowned. Qi Bingfei's true essence wasn't pure enough, and her strength was far inferior to Long Yuan's. Even if Long Yuan only had 40% of his strength left, Qi Bingfei wouldn't be able to contend with him. Boom boom boom. Long Yuan was strong, and each of his sword had the strength of 1,000,000 pounds, suppressing Qi Bingfei to the point that she had no chance to resist. Sky-severing hand. Qi Bingfei did not resist anymore, and began to use a secret technique to attack from a distance, depleting her true yuan very quickly. The sky-severing hand's power decreased by half in her hands, and every time it was forcefully dispersed by Long Yuan, she could only maintain a tie with him. But if this continued, Qi Bingfei's true yuan would be exhausted first. Little Feezy, the parrot said angrily. Remember fake and real, real and fake. Make it so that the enemy can't find your true target. It seemed to be exasperated at the failure of the parrot to meet its expectations. Attack his right chest. Qi Bingfei gave up on the sky-severing hand, and the butterfly sword released Sword Qi, attacking Long Yuan's wound. Long Yuan did not dare to resist anymore, and a tearing pain came from his right armpit, and he could only retreat first. Finally, Qi Bingfei began to counterattack. Attack his lower body. Monkey steals peach. Crotch. Stab his little brother. The parrot jumped up and down, and the moves it taught were all extremely wretched. Everyone was speechless. Qi Bingfei gritted her teeth, and did not care about her face anymore. Anyway, she would just do as the parrot said. She stabbed more than 10 times, either at Long Yuan's right chest or at his lower abdomen, causing Long Yuan to be flustered, and his anger skyrocketed. Stop it for this old man. A terrifying aura enveloped the training field, and a super expert appeared in the sky above the flying dawn villa. His emperor's aura was dense, and his fiery aura covered the sky. Long Yuan and Qi Bingfei took the opportunity to separate, both panting and sweating profusely. Long Yuan's eyes were almost spitting fire as he stared at Qi Bingfei and Yi Qinghan, the evil intent in his eyes. Elder Long Sihai of the Fire Dragon Valley was a famous expert on planet frigid water. His face was grim as he glared at Yi Qinghan and the parrot. Yi Qinghan looked at the fiery sword Qi on Long Sihai's body. He was sure that Long Sihai was the one who had killed Xueqin. Seeing the way Long Sihai looked at Xueqin, he knew that there was some other grudge or secret between them. Otherwise, he wouldn't be so calculative with a junior. Long Sihai stared at Yi Qinghan for a while, then turned to look at the Xianyuan army and the demon emperor. He cupped his fists and bowed. Fellow Taoists, today is the Tao discussion competition. Wouldn't it be detrimental to our dignity to allow a bastard to cause trouble? You have the fire dragon bloodline, silver snake bloodline, and human bloodline. Who is the bastard? The parrot was furious. It hated people talking about its bloodline the most. It did not care if the other party was a boundary emperor, and directly humiliated him. Blaspheming the emperor's aura. You're courting death. Whoosh! Long Yuan roared and waved his hand. His fiery palm filled the void and directly slapped at Yi Qinghan. He clearly wanted to kill Xueqin, not the parrot. Stop. Boom. Xianyuan Jun made his move, repelling Long Yuan's attack with one palm. The order of the world changed, and the great Tao rumbled. Xianyuan Jun stood up coldly and scolded. Who is the one who is tarnishing our dignity? You have guts. Do you really think I don't dare to kill you just because you're an elder of Fire Dragon Valley? Thud, thud, thud. Long Yuan took a few steps back, and his expression changed slightly. He took a deep breath and said, Daoist Xianyuan is the leader of the Celestial Alliance. Naturally, you are not afraid of my Fire Dragon Valley, and you don't have to give my Heavenly Demon Alliance any face. However, there must be reason in everything. This bastard bird is spouting nonsense in the Tao discussion competition. Clearly he was bewitched by his master. Why can't I kill him? Yi Qinghan did not move. His clothes fluttered as he looked calmly at Long Yuan. He noticed that there was a rich earth element on his body. He thought, could it be that the only earth element in the universe is in the immemorial purgatory? In Fire Dragon Valley? If I find the earth element and return to the endless universe, won't I only need the water element to complete the 5 elements Tao body? The parrot stood on Yi Qinghan's shoulder. Now that Yi Qinghan's soul had been restored, it was not afraid of a boundary emperor. It could not help but sneer. This divine bird only knew that a mad dog would bite, but I didn't expect that a mad bastard would not only bite, but also a divine bird. You. Long Yuan was trembling with anger. He gritted his teeth. If Xianyuan Jun was not here, he would definitely pull out the tendons and skin the parrot. Xianyuan Jun frowned and looked coldly at Yi Qinghan and the parrot. He signaled Yi Qinghan to stop the divine bird from speaking. Yi Qinghan pretended not to see it. He had already decided to take down Fire Dragon Valley and snatch the earth element. The demon emperor finally could not stand it anymore and said, All right, this is a matter of the younger generation. Let the young people solve it. We are old, so let's not interfere. I hope that the young people can solve it themselves, but I'm afraid that someone will be a coward and only dare to let a bird come out and make a fuss. This is a disgrace to the human race. Long Sihai mocked. He wanted to provoke Yi Qinghan to attack, so that Long Yuan could take the opportunity to kill him. Shuechen, do you dare to attack? If you don't, then tell your spirit pet to shut up and get out of the Dao discussion competition. Some of the older generation of the human race could not help but scold. Only then did Xianyuanjun truly notice Yi Qinghan. He realized that Yi Qinghan had been expressionless since the beginning. Even when Long Sihai attacked him, Yi Qinghan didn't even bat an eyelid. He was unusually calm and didn't seem like a junior from an immortal sect at all. Shuechen, let me ask you. If Long Yuan challenges you, will you accept the challenge? Xianyuanjun frowned and asked. Yi Qinghan slightly raised his eyes and glanced around. He said indifferently, of course I can. Killing a divine martial artist is not difficult. Good. This is what you said. Wait for 2 hours. I will heal Long Yuan's injury and fight with you. If you don't dare to fight, then you are playing with the heroes of the world. Don't blame this old man for being ruthless. Long Sihai suddenly said in a cold voice. I can attack, but I don't have a suitable weapon. I need to refine a suitable weapon on the spot. I need to exchange for some materials. Once I refine my natal divine weapon, one move will be enough to kill Long Yuan. Yi Qinghan said indifferently. Killing Long Yuan was easy, but after killing Long Yuan he would have to face Long Sihai and then the entire Fire Dragon Valley. Without Berserk he could not always rely on the reincarnation mirror. The reincarnation mirror consumed too much true essence. With his current realm, he would not be able to hold on for long. Sooner or later, his true essence would be exhausted and he would be defeated. Yi Qinghan thought inwardly, I have to stall for time. I will refine Berserk first and take the opportunity to refine my physical body and true essence. It will probably take 1 to 2 days. I will stall for time. Shuechen's physical body and true essence purity were not bad, but compared to Yi Qinghan's peak physical body, the difference was like heaven and earth. They were not even on the same level. Everyone mocked. Killing Long Yuan in one move? Did he think he was a great emperor who suppressed his realm? Xianyuanjun did not say much. He just asked calmly, what materials do you need? Top grade 8 materials. The more the better, but there must be titanium. Yi Qinghan said indifferently. Don't worry, I will use top grade 8 ancient herbs to exchange. As long as there are materials, I can afford it. Top grade 8. The Demon Emperor and Xianyuanjun frowned. Even experts like them could not refine such materials. As a result, there were very few boundary emperor weapons in the immemorial purgatory. They were all left behind from the immemorial era. Yi Qinghan wanted top grade 8 materials. Could he refine them? Yi Qinghan stood calmly and proudly. Although he had lost his Taoist body, he still had his profound essence. The parrot and fire crow both had 8th grade fire sources. With the two of them providing him with fire sources, he could control 8th grade fire profound essence. Refining 8th grade materials would not be a problem. This old man has some titanium here. It's only about 15 kilograms. As for the top grade 8 materials, red refinement gold and 10,000 kilograms of purple copper. Is that enough? Xianyuanjun frowned and asked. Yi Qinghan shook his head. Back then, Berserk was close to 1,000,000 kilograms. However, that was because the materials were too poor. If the materials were good enough, 10,000 kilograms would be enough. This 3,000 kilograms of purple copper was far from enough. Titanium was enough. It only made Berserk malleable, and had the ability to grow. It was not suitable to put in too much. It's too lacking. Yi Qinghan said indifferently. This old man has demon cold iron. It's probably 1,000,000 years old. It's enough to forge a quasi-emperor weapon. I'm afraid that you won't be able to refine it. The demon emperor stared at Yi Qinghan and said calmly. Yi Qinghan was secretly delighted. He thought to himself, the demon emperor is willing to take out the demon cold iron. It means that he can't refine it. Without a mid-grade 8 fire source or above, it's impossible to refine these materials. It seems like they can't refine top grade 8 materials either. They're probably worthless. Chua. Yi Qinghan took out 2 stalks of top grade 8 ancient herbs. They radiated with divinity. Then he took out 3 divine lotus seeds, and a large amount of ordinary grade 8 ancient herbs. These were all accumulated by the divine bird over the years. Other than the divine lotus seeds, and a stock of top grade 8 life-prolonging ancient herb, the rest were all taken out. Not enough. I want enough top grade 8 materials. You guys name your price and I'll pay. Yi Qinghan threw out the treasures in an attempt to attract more treasures. The eyes of the Xianyuan army, Howling Moon Heavenly Sovereign, and the Demon Emperor lit up. They stared at the 3 divine lotus seeds and 2 stalks of top grade 8 ancient herbs. These things were extremely important to them. Shuechun, I have a piece of top grade meteorite. Its grade is unknown, but it's no lower than top grade 8. Can I trade it for one of your ancient herbs and 2 divine lotus seeds? Howling Moon Heavenly Sovereign asked excitedly. Taoist Howling Moon, don't be greedy. No matter how high grade the materials are, they're all trash without a powerful fire source. There are only 3 divine lotus seeds and 2 stalks of top grade 8 ancient herbs. If you want to take half of them, how do you expect me and Taoist Xianyuan to split them? Before Yi Qinghan could speak, the Demon Emperor spoke up and took the initiative to bargain for Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan smiled. He could only take out so many divine lotus seeds. This was the only way to maximize the value of the divine lotus seeds. That's right. I must have 1 divine lotus seed, Xianyuan army said without hesitation. Chapter 375. Everyone could only watch helplessly as the 3 experts fought for the divine lotus seed. Who would dare to fight for the treasure with these 3 experts? No one wondered why Yi Qinghan would have such a treasure. There was no sacred green lotus medicine in the immemorial purgatory. Skyhowl Moon took out a meteorite. Although it was only the size of an adult's fist, it weighed close to 5,000 kilograms. One could see how dense it was. Yi Qinghan also couldn't recognize it. He immediately looked at the parrot. This fella had inherited its father's memories and knew a lot. However, the omniscient parrot also shook its head and secretly transmitted its voice. Master, although I can't recognize it, I know that it is a treasure. It might be the material of an imperial weapon. Let's not care about it for now. Use a divine lotus seed to exchange for it. This old fellow will definitely be willing. Yi Qinghan nodded slightly and said faintly, I can't recognize this material either. However, I am willing to use a divine lotus seed to exchange for it. As for whether I can refine it or not, it will depend on my luck. What do you think? Skyhowl Moon frowned. Yi Qinghan was clearly asking for too much. If the immemorial purgatory had enough resources, this meteorite could be sold for at least 100 times the price. However, the divine lotus seed was priceless and the meteorite didn't have much value in his hands. He could only nod in agreement. Yi Qinghan took out a divine lotus seed and obtained the meteorite. He was overjoyed when he felt the density and weight of the meteorite. He kept it in his yin and yang ring. He then paid 2 divine lotus seeds to buy the demon cold iron and the 10,000-year purple copper and titanium metal from the Xianyuan army. He then looked at the other experts, hoping to get more materials. Soon, someone took out a piece of divine iron that weighed close to 5,000 kilograms. There weren't many impurities. It was definitely a top-tier 8 material. It could be used as the main material of frenzy. Such a material could definitely be exchanged for Yi Qinghan's top-tier 8 life-prolonging divine medicine in the outside world. However, in the end he only got an ordinary top-tier 8 ancient medicine. Yi Qinghan's hands went numb from collecting 8th-grade materials. He exchanged all of the ancient herbs he had, and obtained more than 300,000 caddies of middle-grade 8th-grade and above materials. If he could refine all of them, the quality of the berserker would be far superior to the previous one. At this moment, Long Sihai didn't ask about Yi Qinghan's fate. He was focused on healing Long Yuan's. Yi Qinghan secretly ordered the multicolored snake and the god-slaying eagle to defend. He summoned the fire crow and alternated with the parrot to spit out the 8th-grade fire source. He used his powerful fire origin profound meaning and wood elemental profound meaning to support the flames. At the same time, he controlled dozens of materials. The flames burned the sky. The scorching temperature was so hot that the entire martial arts arena could not withstand it. The ground was melting. Within hundreds of feet, The celestial gate could not stand. Xian Yuanjun and the others were shocked. Based on Yi Qinghan's ability to control dozens of materials at once and his perfect control of true essence, they could tell that Long Yuan was definitely not Yi Qinghan's match. Yi Qinghan's control over his true essence had already surpassed his limits. The fire bathed. The temperature was getting higher and higher. The entire martial arts arena was burned into nothingness. The ground collapsed. Yi Qinghan rose into the air. He used his mental power to control the molten metal. The order of the Great Tao existed with his will. The impurities were all removed. Long Sihai was shocked. He shouted hoarsely, "You're not Xuechen." The Demon Emperor and the Xianyuanjun knew that Xuechen couldn't have such terrifying strength. His mental power was so strong that it defied the natural order. He was not inferior to a boundary emperor. He controlled a Tier 8 fire source, and it was a middle-grade one. He could definitely refine top Tier 8 materials. Qi Bingfei was in a daze. She could guess that Yi Qinghan was strong, but she didn't expect him to be so strong. Long Yuan's Dao heart almost collapsed. His injuries worsened and he coughed up blood. Xian Qingxi and Qin Nuan were shocked. If Yi Qinghan's combat power was so outstanding, who could stop him in the future? Yi Qinghan didn't care about the outside world. He focused all of his attention on guiding the Grade 8 flame to burn the materials. At the same time, he also had to use the fire source to temper his body. His Zhen Yuan and soul energy were being consumed at an extremely fast rate. Yi Qinghan's palms formed hand seals, constantly changing the seals. When his Zhen Yuan was exhausted, he swallowed a complete Grade 7 ancient herb. 49 lotus seeds were arranged in an orderly manner in his sea of consciousness, supporting his mental power. As time passed, more and more molten metal turned into liquid dragons. They intertwined with each other and emitted a faint brilliance. They contained the Great Tao and the order of the Great Tao. As his true essence became purer, his mental power also gradually increased. The purer his true essence became, the more his mental power increased. Although Yi Qinghan was refining, he was actually cultivating. The first day passed just like that. Many people forgot the time and just stared at Yi Qinghan in a daze. They couldn't speak for a long time. Qi Bingfei chose a good spot to refine her body, and then slowly approached Yi Qinghan. The others wanted to get closer but didn't dare to move because they were afraid of Yi Qinghan's counterattack. The hostility in Long Sihai's eyes grew stronger and stronger. He killed Xuechen to silence him. Now he had to kill Yi Qinghan. Otherwise, when Yi Qinghan reached the divine martial realm, it would be difficult to kill him in the future. Uncle Si, what should we do? Long Yuan spent a day to recover 70 to 80% of his cultivation, and asked Long Sihai in a low voice. Long Sihai shook his head and stared at the Demon King. He transmitted his voice. Fellow Taoist Demon King, the Fire Dragon Valley is willing to pay any price to kill this bastard. The Demon King frowned and replied hoarsely, I'm afraid it's not that easy. Also, why are you so determined to kill him? What grudge does Xuechen and this person have against the Fire Dragon Valley? Fellow Taoist Demon King, this person has gone against the Fire Dragon Valley time and time again. I've already killed him once. I didn't expect his body to be occupied by this person. Now that we've offended him, if we don't get rid of him today, it will be a big problem in the future. With such an expert in the human race, if he has the chance to destroy the Fire Dragon Valley, our Heavenly Demon League will be left behind by the Heavenly Human League. Fellow Taoist, please help me kill this bastard for the sake of the demon race's carelessness. Long Sihai transmitted his voice in a low voice. Let's wait for a while. Let's wait for him to refine this weapon first. The Demon King had other plans. Obviously, he had his eyes on Yi Qinghan's weapon. This matter should not be delayed. Fellow Taoist, please reconsider. If we delay too long, there might be changes. Long Sihai didn't give up and still wanted to bewitch the Demon King. However, the Demon King shook his head and said in a low voice, It's not that simple. If he doesn't have a backup plan, why would he refine a weapon in public? If you make a move now, it will only backfire and anger him completely. Let's wait a little longer. The Demon King was very strict. Otherwise, he wouldn't have come this far. If Yi Qinghan didn't have any confidence, Why would he refine a weapon here? Wouldn't that be courting death? Hundreds of thousands of kilograms of materials had been melted into tens of thousands of kilograms of molten iron. All the impurities had been removed. Only the meteorite remained intact. Yi Qinghan was helpless. Even a portion of the Fey Frost iron had been refined. Not a single piece of the meteorite had fallen. In the end, he had no choice but to put away the meteorite and control the molten iron with peace of mind. Time passed until the next morning. More than half of the Fey Frost iron had melted. Yi Qinghan felt exhausted, especially his physical body. It couldn't withstand such a powerful energy usage. He had no choice but to give up on refining the other half of the Fey Frost iron. Titanium, purple copper, a portion of the Fey Frost iron, red refinement gold, and more than 100,000 years old Fey Frost iron. The molten iron finally gathered into more than 50,000 kilograms of molten iron. Yi Qinghan was worried that the quality was too light, so he chose some good materials. It wasn't easy for him to gather 50,000 kilograms of molten iron. Whoosh! The fire gradually dissipated, and the temperature began to drop. Yi Qinghan's will had determined the shape of the blade. It was exactly the same as it was in the past, but the groove of the blade core was larger. More than 10 drops of blood essence fused into the blade that was almost fully formed, making it even more spiritual. A tyrannical aura filled the surroundings. At this moment, even the Demon King and the others were forced to take a few steps back by the temperature. The parrot and fire crow were exhausted. They had provided the fire source for a day and night. Although they took turns to rest, they couldn't take it anymore. They returned to their bodies and fell asleep. Yi Qinghan mobilized some of the ice water to help lower the temperature of the heavy frenzy. Immediately, the surroundings were filled with mist. The heavy frenzy had taken shape. Apart from the lack of the metal, wood, water, fire and earth sources and the blade core, everything else was perfect. Yi Qinghan held the heavy frenzy. It was as if he had returned to the imperial domain. His aura soared, as if he wanted to compete with the heavens. He looked down at Long Sihai and the others with disdain. Afterward, Yi Qinghan sat cross-legged on the ground and swallowed a divine lotus seed and an ordinary tier 8 spirit herb. His mental power increased again, and his violent true yuan poured out. He rushed into the divine martial realm. The purity of his true yuan increased by several levels. The Xianyuan army stared at the heavy frenzy. They could feel the tyrannical and arrogant aura from the heavy frenzy. However, they felt that something was missing. It wasn't as powerful as they had imagined. The most crucial part of the heavy frenzy blade was the blade core. Without the blade core, it was like the great emperor's soul was missing from the great emperor's corpse. The difference was too great. After another 2 hours, Yi Qinghan exhaled a mouthful of turbid air. He used the fire source to forcefully mobilize the fire source, and began to refine the cold demon iron. He wanted to use part of the cold demon iron to forge the blade core. At this moment, Yi Qinghan's cultivation had increased by more than 10 times. He quickly melted part of the cold demon iron, and added part of the titanium and red refinement gold. After 1 drop of heart blood, his face turned pale and his soul became extremely tired. However, Yi Qinghan still persisted. After forming the blade core, he engraved hundreds of formations, offensive formations, defensive formations, yin and yang, 8 trigrams, order, destruction, and all kinds of essences. As long as he understood them, he engraved them all in the blade core. Puffed out a mouthful of essence blood was spat on the blade core. The blade core shone brightly and radiated divinity. Boom! Yi Qinghan grabbed the blade core, and directly inserted it into the heavy frenzy blade. He then sat cross-legged on the ground, and didn't even want to move. This immemorial purgatory was blocked by the great emperor and the human sovereign. Even when the heavy frenzy blade was formed, it couldn't form a lightning tribulation. This gave Yi Qinghan time to catch his breath. The demon sovereign and Long Sihai looked at each other and nodded. Lightning flashed in their eyes, and they instantly moved. The demon sovereign suddenly moved and blocked the two's path to the martial arts arena. Meanwhile, Long Sihai was like an evil dragon pouncing on its prey. His speed was shockingly fast. He stabbed his sword towards Yi Qinghan's head. It was so fast that it was impossible to dodge. No one expected Long Sihai to launch a sneak attack. It was too late for the Xianyuan army and Skyhowl Moon to stop him. Moreover, the demon sovereign was blocking the way. They had lost all hope. Chapter 376. Whoosh! A sword illuminated the 9 provinces. The fiery sword aura was fierce and domineering. Before the sword arrived, the sword aura had already arrived. It went straight for Yi Qinghan. Everyone gasped. They did not expect Long Sihai to launch a sneak attack at this moment. Everyone stared at Yi Qinghan. They wanted to see if he could still launch a counterattack. Long Yuan followed closely behind. He was as fast as lightning. Even if Long Sihai was stopped, he could still kill Yi Qinghan with one strike. Screech! A shrill roar resounded through the mountains and rivers. A huge black shadow shot out from Yi Qinghan's body. It grew bigger and bigger until it covered the sky. Its sharp claws tore through the sky. What is that? Everyone was shocked. They felt that the entire Coldwater Star had fallen into darkness. The golden body that was a few hundred feet tall shrouded the flying cloud villa. In an instant, its sharp claws grabbed the divine martial Dao weapon in Long Sihai's hand. It opened its mouth and wanted to swallow Long Sihai. Long Sihai was shocked. He wanted to pull out his sword and run away. However, the power of the god-slaying eagle was not something a human could resist. The claws of the god-slaying eagle were stronger than ordinary divine martial Dao weapons. It grabbed the fiery giant sword forcefully. Fiery palm. Long Sihai formed a huge hand that covered the sky and slammed it towards the head of the god-slaying eagle. The fire burned the sky and rushed out. Whoosh! The god-slaying eagle was even more powerful. It spat out 8th grade flames and instantly drowned Long Sihai. Ah! Long Sihai screamed and immediately let go. He frantically mobilized his vital essence to suppress the 8th grade flames. He did not care at all. An 8-colored divine light shot out from Yi Qinghan's body. It was as fast as lightning. It circled below the god-slaying eagle in an instant. It bared its fangs and pounced on Long Sihai with a thunderous force. Whoosh! The god-slaying eagle flapped its wings. Hundreds of elites were swept away. Even Long Yuan and Qi Bingfei were not excluded. The flying cloud villa was almost uprooted. The debris covered the space. Then, the god-slaying eagle took a deep breath and sucked away all the flames. A sound like a dragon's roar resounded through the Milky Way. It was in perfect coordination with the god-slaying eagle. As soon as the flames dispersed, the dragon's tooth broke through the mountains and rivers and directly entered Long Sihai's body. In an instant, it pierced through his chest and swallowed his heart. Long Sihai was stunned on the spot. His eyes were lifeless, and half of his vitality was gone in an instant. Crack! The god-slaying eagle broke his head with its claw and swallowed it whole. Boom! Long Sihai's body crashed to the ground. Even his blood had dried up. All that was left was a pile of bones, as if he had been dead for thousands of years. Whoosh! After the multicolored snake killed Long Sihai, it immediately returned to Yi Qinghan's body. It came and went like the wind, as if it had never appeared. Screech! The god-slaying eagle swooped down and went straight for Long Yuan. Its big mouth swallowed the mountains and rivers, and the airflow was reversed. Long Yuan wanted to escape, but he could not move an inch. His body flew backward, and no matter how much he screamed, he could not escape the fate of death. Crack! Long Yuan was sucked into the god-slaying eagle's mouth. With a crisp sound, Long Yuan's waist was broken, and he was swallowed in an instant. The demon emperor's mouth twitched. He knew that Yi Qinghan had a strong foundation, but he did not expect that he had 4 spirit pets, each more terrifying than the other. They could kill a boundary emperor so quickly. Skylord Howling Moon also swallowed a mouthful of saliva. He wanted to say something, but his throat seemed to be stuck. He is not from our immemorial purgatory. He should be someone who came in recently. Xianyuan Jun's voice changed. He said in shock, Demon Emperor, you can't kill him. We need his information. He might be our hope to leave this place. The Demon Emperor's face turned ugly, and he quibbled with a hoarse voice. You have misunderstood. Why would I want to kill him? If I really wanted to kill him, I would have done it directly. Everyone saw that Yi Qinghan did not move at all. His clothes were fluttering in the wind. Even when a boundary emperor attacked, he did not even frown. He was calm in the face of danger, and he had the demeanor of an emperor. The god-slaying eagle returned and transformed into a burly man. He stood beside Yi Qinghan with violent hammer in his hand and glared at the demon emperor. The power of his bloodline was vast, and it made the demon emperor feel a little strained. So you are from our heaven demon lineage. There was a misunderstanding just now. I hope you do not take offense. The demon emperor felt the hostility. At this moment, he did not want to be enemies with Yi Qinghan. He only wanted to make up for it. He immediately bowed and said, the god-slaying eagle was indifferent and only guarded silently. Whoever dared to make a move would definitely be massacred by him. A terrifying aura spread and shrouded the soaring afterglow manor. Hundreds of elites shot back from afar in a sorry state. They did not dare to get too close. Xian Qingxi's eyes were filled with shock. Even a fool would know that with such spirit pets, Yi Qinghan's cultivation would not be weak. Otherwise, how could he subdue so many powerful spirit pets? Would a bitch like the parrot be willing to submit? Qin Nuan clenched her small fists and stared at Lord Howling Moon. Her big eyes kept blinking as if she was asking for something. Lord Howling Moon patted her small head and shook his head slightly, indicating for her to calm down. The Xianyuan army was not in a hurry. Yi Qinghan could not run away. He needed information about Yi Qinghan and everything about the outside world. Qi Bingfei flew back to Yi Qinghan and was more than 10 meters away. She was frightened by the aura of the god-slaying eagle and did not dare to move. She could only wait silently for Yi Qinghan to recover. At this moment, Yi Qinghan's spirit energy was rapidly recovering. His true core was like the mighty Milky Way, rolling over and over. His skin was crystal clear, but it was actually very tough. It was like a divine martial warrior. The divine lotus in his mind spun wildly. With every cycle, his spirit energy would increase by 30%. In less than half an hour, he had recovered to his peak state. However, his spirit energy was still increasing. The strength of his soul had increased by at least 10%. His soul realm had reached the middle stage of the god martial realm. Once he returned to his body, he could easily control it. Unfortunately, Xuechen's physical body was too weak. Even though it had been refined by Yi Qinghan, he could only exert the strength of the peak of the early stage of the god martial realm. After an hour, Yi Qinghan opened his eyes slightly. The divine light was captivating and made people tremble. They did not dare to look directly at him. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan stood up slowly. His clothes and hair fluttered in the wind. His aura was overwhelming. The god-slaying eagle turned into a mark and returned to Yi Qinghan's soul spirit. Yi Qinghan stretched out his hand and grabbed Zhong Kuang. His aura became terrifying as if he was a saber that could split the sky. He was overbearing and wanted to destroy everything. His killing intent was so dense that even the demon emperor was shocked. Yi Qinghan had killed many people, including a great emperor. That kind of murderous aura was not something that could be imitated by others. It was as if he had walked through a sea of blood, stepped on corpses, and walked step by step. Qi Bingfei looked at Yi Qinghan's back and felt her heart throbbing. Her heart was completely subdued, and she did not dare to look directly at him. To her, knowing Yi Qinghan was both good and bad. The good thing was that she had a fortuitous encounter, but the bad thing was that her Dao heart was suppressed. There was no hope for her to climb to the peak. I'm really sorry for destroying the flying afterglow manor, Yi Qinghan said plainly. Xian Yuanjun looked at Yi Qinghan's apologetic expression. How was this an apology? It was clearly a routine notification. However, he could not argue with Yi Qinghan. He could only shake his head and smile bitterly. It's just a facade. If it's destroyed, we can just rebuild it. Taoist, you don't have to take it to heart. Yi Qinghan nodded. He looked at Beast Emperor and asked in a low voice, Taoist Beast Emperor, you don't mind that I killed someone from your Heavenly Demon Alliance, right? Beast Emperor's mouth twitched. Sweat appeared on his forehead. He thought to himself, this bastard is doing it on purpose. He doesn't seem to care about Xian Yuanjun and me. Could it be that he can kill any one of us with his own combat strength and the 4 heavenly demons? Ha ha ha, Taoist, I'm only reasonable. He attacked you and was killed by your spirit pet. He deserved it. Why would I mind? Beast Emperor laughed awkwardly. Oh, it's good that you don't mind. Then I'm sure Taoists won't mind if I slaughter the Fire Dragon Valley, right? Yi Qinghan raised his eyebrows and asked. Beast Emperor was speechless. He smiled bitterly and thought to himself. Fuck, even if I mind. Would you give me face and not slaughter them? Since you won't give me face, why did you say such nonsense? You're clearly toying with me. After all, this is Long Sihai's personal action. It shouldn't have anything to do with the Fire Dragon Valley. Furthermore, there are several boundary emperors in the Fire Dragon Valley. Taoist, please reconsider. Don't regret it. Beast Emperor said seriously. Yi Qinghan pulled out Zhongquang. The sound of his saber resonated through the mountains and rivers. It was extremely domineering and its aura soared beyond the 9 heavens. I've never regretted anything I've decided on. Yi Qinghan held his saber and turned to leave. When he passed by Qi Bingfei, he said faintly, You stay here first. I'm going to the Fire Dragon Valley. Taoist, you wait. The Fire Dragon Valley is very dangerous. It's too rash for you to go there like this. Qi Bingfei quickly reminded him. If you don't mind, you can join forces with my Butterfly Valley. Although Butterfly Valley keeps a low profile, there are still 2 boundary emperors in the back mountain. There's no need for that. It's just the Fire Dragon Valley. I don't care about it. Yi Qinghan proudly stepped out of the Flying Clouds Villa and headed straight for the Heavenly Demon's territory. The Fire Dragon Valley was located in the south of the Coldwater Star. It was close to the extreme southern desert. It was unbearably hot there and normal people wouldn't be able to live there. However, the forest here was abnormally dense and ancient. It was a rare cultivation ground with good weather. Other than the hot weather and dense fire elements, there was nothing else to be picky about. There was a mountain range that stretched for thousands of miles. It was the Fire Dragon Valley. The spiritual energy was overwhelming and there were tens of thousands of disciples. The disciples of the Fire Dragon Valley were all hybrids, and was famous for being lascivious. Therefore, there were more and more descendants, but their bloodline was getting worse and worse. Only 1 out of 1,000 people would have a pure bloodline. Long Yuan was one of them, but unfortunately he died. Yi Qinghan stood more than 10 miles away from the Fire Dragon Valley, and looked into the deep valley. He forced the divine bird out, and asked for the reincarnation mirror. The reincarnation mirror was his trump card, and could be used for sneak attacks. After killing a few boundary emperors, the rest would be easy to deal with. Boom. Yi Qinghan stepped into the Fire Dragon Valley. Zhongquang split the sky and was overflowing with power. He didn't have any intention to hide and kill. Everywhere he went, the weak were suppressed by his will and died on the spot. Hua. Boom. Zhongquang's divine light shot into the sky and disappeared with Yi Qinghan in a flash. He was like a peerless immortal shadow that disappeared into the mountains and rivers. When he appeared again, he was already 100 miles away. His back view was strong and tyrannical. His black hair wrapped around the sky and he was domineering. No one dared to profane him. Who are you? How dare you behave so atrociously in my Fire Dragon Valley? A terrifying aura enveloped the periphery of the Fire Dragon Valley. The powerful aura was recovering rapidly. A palm descended from the sky and slapped towards Yi Qinghan. The sky was even broken by the huge palm. Chapter 377. The newcomer's aura was extraordinary. His fiery palm was unstoppable, and it broke the sky. Yi Qinghan held the saber with both hands, and his true origin poured out. The saber radiance was filled with violent saber radiance, illuminating heaven and earth. There was even some lightning attached to it, and the order of destruction was fully displayed. Slash. The saber swept across the sky, and it had the intention to slay all life in the world. All laws submitted to it, and it attacked violently. Who could compete with it? Whoosh. The sky was split open, and it went straight for the origin. The alternate space was split open, and a vigorous figure fell out of the space. It was a fake emperor, and he couldn't dodge Yi Qinghan's saber. The saber seemed ordinary, but it actually contained the terrifying order of the Great Tao, the law of destruction and space. The saber was so shocking that the Xianyuan army, the Demon Emperor, and Howling Moon, who followed closely behind, took a deep breath. With this saber alone, they didn't dare to treat Yi Qinghan as a divine martial realm cultivator, but as an expert of the same generation. Ah! The fake emperor screamed, and the emperor's blood splashed onto the mountains and rivers. The vigorous vitality covered the sky and earth. Screech! The god-slaying eagle roared and swooped down, swallowing all the emperor's blood in one gulp. The broken body of the fake emperor was wrapped in the death aura, and the order changed. It couldn't heal the body, and it fell from the sky without any resistance. Whoosh! The god-slaying eagle swooped down from the sky, opened its mouth, and swallowed the fake emperor in an instant. A fake emperor of a generation actually ended up like this. Yi Qinghan killed cleanly without any hesitation. The Xianyuan army couldn't help but look at the two experts beside him, and the shock in their eyes was self-evident. Can you and I kill so quickly? Howling Moon stared at Yi Qinghan's back and asked hoarsely. The Demon Emperor and Xianyuan army shook their heads. Yi Qinghan didn't just kill the fake emperor. He injured the fake emperor from a distance, so that the fake emperor couldn't heal his body and couldn't even fly. He could only let his body fall. He did it on purpose, leaving most of the fake emperor's bloodline power for the god-slaying eagle to devour. The Fire Dragon Valley is finished. No wonder he doesn't care about us. Xianyuan Jun smiled bitterly and shook his head. That might not be the case. As far as I know, the Fire Dragon Valley's Valley Master is already a consummation quasi-emperor. The 4 elders are all quasi-emperors. The Demon Emperor was solemn. After pondering for a moment, he asked in a low voice, "This person's state of mind is very stable. He's not a kind person. I'm afraid he won't be controlled by us. Should we? Let's observe the situation first. It's still too early to make a move." The Xianyuan army was not willing to take the risk. Without seeing Yi Qinghan's foundation, he would definitely not interfere. Boom! A powerful boundary emperor rushed out from the depths of the Fire Dragon Valley. With a cold expression, he looked at Yi Qinghan and frowned. "Xuechun? You can't be Xuechun." "So even the Fire Dragon Valley knows who I am," Yi Qinghan said indifferently. This person knew who Xuechun was, which made him even more suspicious. Xuechun was just a brat from an immortal sect. His combat prowess was only at the pseudo-super first rate, far from the true peak. It was impossible for the Fire Dragon Valley's elder to know him. Yet the Fire Dragon Valley wanted to kill him. "You are really Xuechun? How dare you come back?" The Boundary Emperor roared. He clenched his fist and punched at Yi Qinghan. Whoosh! The iron fist was tyrannical. It ignored space and distance and instantly arrived before Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan's lips curled up as he swung his saber at the Boundary Emperor. With a twist of his waist, the ground cracked and the Fire Dragon Valley was crushed. Boom! The saber light flashed and disappeared, entering space. Then it tore through space and landed on the Boundary Emperor's iron fist that was 100 meters away. It did not miss at all. Whoosh! Arg! The iron fist shattered, and the force crushed the flesh of the Boundary Emperor's right arm into powder. Even the golden battle bones broke. The Boundary Emperor cried out miserably as he went flying back. Boom! Yi Qinghan swung his saber wildly. It was violent and tyrannical. Saber light filled the world, shattering the periphery of the Fire Dragon Valley. Whoosh! Another saber strike drowned out the Boundary Emperor's physical body. No matter how strong the Boundary Emperor was, his physical body could not block such a ferocious attack. The Boundary Emperor immediately tore into pieces, and blood spurted out. Screech! The god-killing eagle and the multicolored snake attacked at the same time, quickly swallowing up the Boundary Emperor's flesh and life force. A Boundary Emperor could not resist, dying miserably on the spot. This person is definitely the best candidate to confirm his Tao. The Howling Moon Heavenly Venerate muttered in shock. Boom! Several horrifying auras awakened in the depths of the Fire Dragon Valley at the same time. One of them soared into the sky, soaring into the clouds. It was like a blazing divine sword standing above the 9 heavens. Just its aura alone suppressed all living beings within 500 kilometers, causing them to not dare to move. Yi Qinghan stood at the summit of a mountain and looked over. He was calm and composed, his immortal robes fluttering. He looked like an otherworldly divine son without any flaws. It was like he was one with the world, one with the Fire Dragon Valley. Everyone could clearly see him, but their spiritual sense could not lock onto him. The expressions of the Xianyuan army and the others changed drastically. Such wondrous spatial control was simply at the peak of perfection. Who are you? You cannot possibly be Xuechun. The strongest Fire Dragon Valley expert stared at Yi Qinghan with eyes as bright as torches from dozens of kilometers away. It looks like you all really can't forget about Xuechun. I don't know if I should thank you all for killing Xuechun and giving me a body to use, Yi Qinghan said indifferently. From what you mean, you are not here to thank us, but for the treasure, right? The expert questioned coldly. The 4 boundary emperors joined forces and appeared a few kilometers away from Yi Qinghan. They stood together with a terrifying aura. With such a force, the Xianyuan army or the demon emperor alone would find it difficult to look up to them. They definitely would not dare to fight them alone. So what if I am? Give me what I want and I can leave immediately. If you don't want to give it to me, I will just snatch it, Yi Qinghan said without holding back. Snatch. Ha. Kid, aren't you a little too arrogant? Do you think you can still leave alive today? Fire Dragon Valley Master Longsheng mocked in disdain. Yi Qinghan narrowed his eyes and looked at Longsheng. He asked with a hoarse voice, I want to know if the thing I want is with you? Yi Qinghan obviously did not want the reincarnation mirror to destroy the treasure. If it was any other treasure, it would be fine. If it was the earth essence, it would be a waste of a heavenly treasure. There was only one of it in the world. When it disappeared, who knew how long it would take for another one to form? I have already moved the living earth essence. Don't even think about it. Since you are here today, don't leave. Longsheng was furious and said coldly, living earth essence. This was an item from the mythological era. Legend had it that it could grow on its own and would never be consumed. It could allow divine medicine to grow quickly. Divine medicine that originally needed hundreds of thousands of years to form could be completed in tens of thousands of years, with some living earth essence. This was a true chaos treasure. It was even more valuable than a Chaos Emperor weapon. It was hard to find even in 1,000,000 years. Who would have thought that it would exist in the immemorial purgatory? Yi Qinghan's eyes flashed. He thought to himself, as expected, they are here for treasures like the earth essence. However, the living earth essence seems to be even more valuable. This item can create the earth essence. No wonder their bodies have such rich earth elements. You can't move this kind of item. Moreover, this is the immemorial purgatory. It's just a cold water star. Where can you move it to? Yi Qinghan smiled indifferently. He looked at the 4 people in front of him and decided to kill them first. However, he could not destroy Longsheng forcefully. If the living earth essence was destroyed by the reincarnation mirror in his universe ring, then the gains would not make up for the losses. Swish. The reincarnation mirror appeared in Yi Qinghan's hand. The jet-black surface of the mirror did not seem to be anything special. Longsheng and the others could not recognize what kind of treasure it was. However, their hearts suddenly hung up. The feeling of death instantly enveloped the entire Fire Dragon Valley. Swish. A beam of black light carrying the mysteries of reincarnation swallowed up a quasi-emperor on the far left. This quasi-emperor did not even have the chance to scream before he disappeared without a trace. It was as if he had never appeared. Retreat. Longsheng and the other 2 were horrified. They fled in 3 different directions. Screech. Whoosh. The god-slaying eagle and the multicolored snake charged out. The multicolored snake turned into a heavenly dragon coiling in the sky. It shuttled through the universe and entangled Longsheng. The god-slaying eagle charged out and blocked his escape route. Yi Qinghan laughed coldly and activated the reincarnation mirror. In an instant, it engulfed another quasi-emperor. A huge black hole appeared in the void. Another quasi-emperor roared in horror and fled toward the fiend emperor. Fellow Taoist emperor, save me. Boom. The fiend emperor made his move. However, he did not save him. Instead, he waved his hand and suppressed him. That quasi-emperor did not expect that the fiend emperor would not help him, and would even kill him. He did not have any chance to resist and died tragically on the spot. The Fiend Emperor had offended Yi Qinghan once. This time, he could only be considered to be making amends. The Xianyuan army did not expect the Fiend Emperor to do this. A strange look flashed across their eyes. Boom! The multicolored snake entangled Longsheng and turned into a 3-inch snake. It darted around Longsheng's battle robes at lightning speed. Occasionally, it would open its fangs and take away a piece of flesh. Ah! Get lost! Boom boom boom. Longsheng kept attacking himself. However, every time he hit himself, he would be severely injured. He immediately coughed up blood. Ah! Longsheng let out a shrill cry, causing the Fiend Emperor and the others to shudder. The multicolored snake was too fast. It slithered around continuously. Even one's divine sense could not capture its trajectory. When this creature was at the peak of grade 8, it could even bite the Tianwu Emperor, let alone a quasi-emperor. Holes kept appearing on Longsheng's body. Black blood spurted out. The multicolored snake's speed did not have much effect on him. After all, he also had the bloodline of the silver snake. However, the multicolored snake's ability to devour vitality made him despair. Every time it bit him, 20% of his vitality would be devoured. Boom boom boom. Longsheng transformed into a half-dragon, half-snake body. He rolled and roared in the Fire Dragon Valley, wanting to crush the multicolored snake to death. However, he forgot about the god-slaying eagle. The god-slaying eagle swooped down from the void. Its sharp claws pierced through the dragon scales and locked onto his vital point, pulling him into the void. The multicolored snake took advantage of this and bit through Longsheng's body, entering his body. Roar! Longsheng roared and swung his huge dragon tail at the god-slaying eagle. However, the god-slaying eagle was one step ahead and flung him away. Kacha! With a crisp sound, a bolt of lightning flashed through Longsheng's body. The multicolored snake opened its bloody mouth and bit down on his heart. Longsheng's body stiffened and fell from the sky. Screech! The god-slaying eagle swooped down. Its iron claws crushed his head and swallowed it. Half of Longsheng's body fell to the ground, causing the Fire Dragon Valley to shake. Chapter 378. The Demon Emperor, Xianyuan Army, and Howling Moon gasped. Their fingertips trembled and they did not know what to say. Among the 4 boundary emperors, other than the one who was suppressed by the Demon Emperor, the other 3 did not even last for 10 breaths. This was especially so for Longsheng. His strength was comparable to a demon sovereign's, and he was not too far off. However, he did not even use a single move in the face of the multicolored snake and the god-slaying eagle joining forces. Come out and help me find the living soil essence. Yi Qinghan forced the tired divine bird out. The divine bird was furious. It opened its eyes and said tiredly, "Master, it's in a cave deep inside. It's surrounded by mountains. It's easy to find." Whoosh! The parrot returned to the sea of consciousness and fell into a deep sleep again. Tens of thousands of years ago, the disciples of the Fire Dragon Valley hid deep inside and did not know what to do. The 4 elders and valley masters were dead. What could these ordinary disciples do? What should we do? Run. The cold water planet is only so big. Where can we run to? They're all dead. Let's surrender. The ordinary disciples cried and hid in the Fire Dragon Valley's martial arts arena. Yi Qinghan turned to look at the 3 experts and said calmly, "My 3 friends, from now on, the Fire Dragon Valley is my private territory. You won't mind, right?" The Demon Emperor, Xianyuan Army, Howling Moon shrugged. He was an itinerant cultivator and did not get involved in the fight for territory. This matter had nothing to do with him. Since you're silent, it means you agree. From today onwards, it's best not to let anyone near the Fire Dragon Valley. Otherwise, even if I can hold it in, my spirit pet can't. Yi Qinghan turned and walked into the depths. The god-slaying eagle and the rainbow snake guarded the sides. More than 10 disciples rushed out of the Fire Dragon Valley to escape, but were killed instantly. Their vitality was devoured by the rainbow snake and the god-slaying eagle. The birds in the sky were dead. Inside the Fire Dragon Valley, tens of thousands of disciples were suppressed together. Yi Qinghan looked down at the crowd and said in a low voice, Those who don't think they have done anything forcefully, stand on the left. Those who have, stand on the right. Everyone's face was pale, and they were sweating profusely. The Fire Dragon Valley relied on forceful plundering. There weren't many people who relied on themselves. Seeing Yi Qinghan's attitude, it seemed like he was going to punish those who violated the law. Some people wanted to get away with it and followed the group to the left. However, most of the people were still on the right. Their sins were known by everyone, so there was no way to hide. They could only pray that Yi Qinghan would not be too cruel and spare their lives. Yi Qinghan smiled and said to the rainbow snake and the god-slaying hawk, "I'll leave it to you." Screech. The god-slaying eagle roared and developed a huge body that covered the sky. It opened its mouth and swallowed thousands of people in one gulp. Instantly, blood flowed like a river on the martial arts field. Tens of thousands of spirits wailed, and miserable cries rang out incessantly. Screeched, the rainbow snake turned into lightning. Everywhere it passed, there were withered corpses and bones. It was as if they had been dead for tens of thousands of years. Not even a drop of blood was left. No one could escape from this one-sided massacre. Yi Qinghan could not leave any scourge. Moreover, he did not know if these people knew about the swelling soil essence. He would rather kill them than let them go. Otherwise, if the Xianyuan army and the demon sovereign knew that there was swelling soil here, they would definitely turn against him. Nearly 20,000 people were slaughtered by the god-slaying hawk and the rainbow snake in just 3 breaths. The smell of blood filled the air. Yi Qinghan stepped into the martial arts field. Seeing that there were still a few hundred people left, he reached out and grabbed one of them. He used his divine senses to search his sea of consciousness. The memories of the other party were clear at a glance. Crack. His neck was directly broken. Yi Qinghan threw the corpse to the god-slaying hawk. One by one, no one managed to escape. After an hour, only 3 people were left alive. This was because Yi Qinghan had shown mercy. Yi Qinghan erased part of their memories and added another part. He kept the 3 of them as the external contacts of the Fire Dragon Valley. After that, Yi Qinghan stepped into the valley that the parrot mentioned. Sure enough, it was surrounded by mountains. The earth element was rich, and the mountains and rivers were evergreen. There was a big hole that had been dug out. The outside of the hole was covered by a formation. Without Longsheng's permission, no one could enter. This kind of ancient formation was not common. However, to Yi Qinghan, who was a master of formations, it was like nothing. Yi Qinghan's divine senses wandered around the formation and felt its energy. In a short while, he had assimilated its energy. His figure flashed and entered the cave. The stones in the cave had turned into soil. The earth element was rich to the extreme. Yi Qinghan went deep into the cave. The earth element had reached its limit. In the deepest part, there was a praying mat and a very special piece of soil. It was at most the size of a palm. There were also a few stalks of 8th grade top ancient medicine planted nearby. They were still lush even without sunlight. They were full of divinity and were almost transforming. Yi Qinghan took a deep breath and decided to go into seclusion here. God-slaying hawk, informed the outside world. If anyone comes to find me, reject them all. If I don't come out, no one is allowed to disturb me, Yi Qinghan said in a deep voice. Yes, master. The god-slaying hawk was loyal and would not be disloyal. At this moment, it had transformed into a valiant man. After I come back, I will go into seclusion. This time, I might be in seclusion for a long time. It could be a dozen years or even 100 years. Don't waste time. Leave 2 stalks of ancient medicine for me. You can divide the rest among yourselves, Yi Qinghan said in a serious tone. The multicolored snake stuck out its tongue and coiled around an ancient medicine. However, it did not swallow it. Instead, it slowly absorbed its spiritual energy. This place was dark and damp. The earth element was rich. It was a sacred place for it to cultivate. The god-slaying hawk notified the outside world. Then, it turned into a wisp of aura and returned to the cave through the contract mark. Yi Qinghan was already sitting cross-legged on the ground, entering a state of cultivation. Time flew by rapidly. The sovereign realm was developing rapidly. Lu Outyin brought the Lulan army and forced the three factions to take a step back once more. They took over the Aeon battlefield, and the insane sect finally had a place to train. 200 years had passed since the Age of Emperors. It had been more than 100 years since Yi Qinghan's death. Yi Qinghan's name gradually disappeared in the river of history. Only the insane sect and the ancient massacre god remembered that Yi Qinghan had risked his life to obtain a chance of survival back then. The younger generation sprung up like bamboo shoots after a spring rain. Countless young experts emerged from the various planets. Some of them soared into the sky and were not inferior to the insane sect's elders. The ancient massacre god gradually recovered, but compared to his peak, he was no longer as lively as before. 300 years had passed since the Age of Emperors' fall. An earth-shattering battle took place in the Aeon battlefield, shocking the entire universe. The Azure Dragon clan's Long Qiong and the rising star of the human race, Yi Wudao, fought to the death. In the end, Yi Wudao lost miserably by a single move and died in the Aeon battlefield. Yi Wudao's name resounded throughout the universe. He became one of the strongest candidates to prove his Tao. 340 years had passed since the Age of Emperors' fall. The Heavenly Monkey King and Yang Zhan fought in the primitive universe. The two fought until the heavens collapsed and the earth cracked. Countless dead stars exploded. In the end, the Heavenly Monkey King returned while Yang Zhan completely disappeared. In this era, if one wanted to prove their Tao, they had to step over corpses. Anyone could die. For example, Long Qiong and Yang Zhan. The strongest of the insane sect was Wuxia. When his true golden bloodline erupted, he instantly killed countless people. Whether it was luck or talent, he far surpassed everyone else. Even Jian Qinxue was somewhat inferior. As for the outer members, Xia Ziliyue was definitely a top candidate to prove her Tao. She was not inferior to the Heavenly Monkey King and Wuxia. In terms of strength, she was even stronger than the two. However, her recent thoughts were not on proving her Tao. Instead, she was rebuilding the Heavenly Dragon Sacred Dynasty. Xia Qiyue was the new emperor of the Heavenly Dragon Sacred Dynasty. Her methods were superb, not inferior to Lu Outyan's. Using the name of the primordial era, she opened up a new battlefield. Working together with Lu Lan, they kept suppressing the three hidden sections. The entire imperial domain was taken over. Lu Outyan did not make things difficult for Xia Qiyue. He returned the original territory of the Heavenly Dragon Sacred Dynasty to her. In return, Xia Qiyue took down dozens of stars and gave them to Lu Outyan. In the 400 years of the Emperor's Fall era, Yi Qinghan had left for 300 years. The Six Disasters Azure Dragon could not resist the Grand Tao of Order. Its vitality dissipated, and it turned into Tao at the Divine Ghost Gate. The Six Disasters Azure Dragon ultimately turned into Tao so quickly for the sake of the human race and the endless universe. It received the recognition of the human race and the myriad races, and was buried outside the ancestral land. A large number of elites were not qualified to be buried in the ancestral land. Thus, a new cemetery was opened. Perhaps Di Sheng was not destined to die. He only used half of the yin-yang flower divine medicine. The last half worked in the end. Otherwise, he would have turned into Tao together with the Six Disasters Azure Dragon. Shenong Qingyan was like a peerless fairy. She only appeared once. After that, she entered the ancient massacre god's world of massacre and the library. She never appeared again. The human race and the myriad races were developing rapidly. It must be mentioned that the pangolin that Jin Yan brought back had grown up. It was so strong that even Wuxia felt pressured. If he did not use his full strength, he would not be able to catch it. The 300-year-old pangolin could actually transform. At its age, it was at most the same as a 7- or 8-year-old child of the human race. To be able to reach this stage was simply shocking. However, after it transformed, it had always wanted to enter the ancestral land of the human race. Unfortunately, there were countless great formations outside the ancestral land, and they were all monarch formations. It was impossible for it to enter the ancestral land. In the desolate island of the absolute heaven ocean, Emperor Yi played the zither. The sound of nature spread in all directions. The peerless girl danced gracefully. Her immortal robe fluttered. She was so beautiful that it took one's breath away. After the zither ended, the two walked side by side. Their skin was smooth and translucent. They stood proudly on the shore of the absolute heaven ocean. They were like peerless fairies that could only be seen but not touched. A gust of sea breeze blew by. Their skin could not help but flutter their robes. It was so beautiful that the world lost its color. Sister, how much time has passed in the outside world? Why hasn't Master come back to pick me up? Emperor Yi was a little sad. Although he did not know how much time had passed in the outside world, he knew that it had been a very long time. Maybe he doesn't dare to come back. Or maybe he has forgotten about you with a peerless beauty by his side. The girl still looked at the wicked, and was unwilling to believe in humans. Sister, don't talk about him like that. Master is definitely not such a person. He must have been delayed by something. Emperor Yi shook his head. Even if she was beaten to death, she would not believe that Yi Qinghan did not dare to come back. However, the last sentence made her a little uncertain. After all, there were still Jian Chenxue and Xia Ziluo in the outside world. Who dared to say that these two would not pose a threat to her? Chapter 379. The absolute heaven sea was strangely quiet. The waves rippled gently and the willows on the deserted island swayed gently. Emperor Ye's eyes were filled with worry. He gently said, Sister, I want to go back. I'll be back in 2 years at most. Is that okay? The girl coldly shook her head and said, No. We agreed that if he came to pick you up, I would naturally allow you to leave. Now don't even think about me sending you back. Emperor Yi was currently in the middle stage of the God Martial Realm. He was only half a step away from the peak of the God Martial Realm. However, it was extremely difficult for him to find the Qinling Mountains. Sister, the human race has been in troubled times recently. Without me by his side, I'm always worried that something will happen to him. Emperor Yi bitterly smiled and begged, If sister is willing to agree, when I come back, I'll accompany you for 100 years. If the human race is fine, I'll bring him back and live in seclusion here. The girl was still stubborn. You're stupid. Stupider than me. Actually, if he doesn't come and you don't leave, that's the best choice. What if you go back and see someone else by his side? What if you come back depressed? Or if he's already dead, wouldn't you be even sadder? At this time, waiting here with hope and no news might be the best news. The girl closed her eyes and played with her hair. In truth, she was just worried that Emperor Yi would be hurt. Sister, he's not that kind of person. I know you're doing this for my sake, but recently I've been worried about him. If I don't go back this time, my cultivation won't be able to improve anymore. Emperor Yi earnestly tried to persuade the girl. The girl sighed and remained silent. Sister. Emperor Yi grabbed the girl's hand and said coquettishly, If sister is worried, you can come with me. Alright, I won't go. In 2 years, you'll be on the other side of the absolute heaven sea. If you don't come, I'll personally come and catch you. Don't even think about leaving this place. The girl shook her head and gently waved her hand. Emperor Yi disappeared into the darkness, and when he reappeared, he was already at the cliff. Jian Shui's stone sculpture was no longer there. It was unknown whether it had been taken away by Zhikan or Yi Qinghan. The place was empty and desolate. Emperor Yi was in a hurry to return. He transformed into his armor with the god-slaying eagle and traveled as fast as lightning, riding the wind and breaking the waves. He streaked across the galaxy like a shooting star, shocking many people. Now things were still the same, but people had changed. In just a few hundred years, some star regions were bleak and lifeless. Most of the people were unrecognizable. The famous people in the past seemed to have all died. They were all brand new faces. Emperor Ye's heart began to beat faster. Halfway through their journey, they chose to descend on a planetary system and interrogate him about the events of the past few hundred years. His face was pale, and when it came to Yi Qinghan, no one knew who he was. In the end, only a few hundred people survived the great battle. They went their separate ways and did not mention anything about the battle. After all, it was too tragic. Many of their brothers and sisters died, and many of their bones were not even cold yet. Just thinking about it made their hearts ache. As for the remnant sects and the 8 tribes of Yin and Yang, they would not publicize Yi Qinghan's merits. Therefore, Yi Qinghan's era had declined. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Emperor Yi rested for a moment and swallowed a large number of divine pills. Then he sped towards the sovereign domain again. Since the battle, the sovereign domain had become much quieter. Many dilapidated palaces stood there, and the deep ravines moved people's hearts and souls. It was as if they were telling the story of the earth-shattering battle, as if they were witnessing the tragic deaths of countless heroes. On this day the insane sect gathered. Even Lu Outyan came. It seemed that the remaining elites of that generation had all come. Regardless of the grudges in the past, they were strangely harmonious today. Their faces were very solemn. Today was the day of the end of the great battle. It was also the death anniversary of Yi Qinghan. In fact, every 10 years, a small event would be held to pay tribute to the heroes of that year. The location was always at the insane sect. Gu Qingyu glanced at the people who came. There were only 40 to 50 people, which was almost half of the previous event. The elites of that year, in order to prove their Tao, fell one after another. Only these few people were left. He could not help but sigh. Thank you all for coming to the memorial. Gu Qingyu cupped his fists and said, You don't have to be like this, Daoist Qingyu. We are the only ones left from that battle. Others may not pray for the heroes who died, but we have to let the souls of the heroes know. Qitian Monkey King was indifferent. Now he was the only one of the 10,000 races who could really take part in the battle. The pangolin was still young. He probably had no chance to prove his Tao. Everyone here is a superclass expert. We have participated in the battle of life and death. We all understand that the real calamity is not over yet. I hope that when we meet each other in the battle, if there is a chance to be merciful, please spare our lives. Besides each other, who else can we trust? Xia Qiyue clenched her fists and said in a deep voice. Everyone nodded. This sentence was the most reasonable. Today, more than 60% of the people who proved their Tao were here. If it was about the future great emperor, it was most likely to be born here. However, the more people there were, the crueler the battle would be. In the end, there would only be 3 to 5 people left. Qitian Monkey King looked at Zhang Gu apologetically and said in a hoarse voice, Daoist Zhang Gu, I'm very sorry. I didn't have time to explain about your senior brother. He gave up in the end. I didn't mean to kill him. Zhang Gu was sad. He knew Yang Zhan's temperament the best. Once he was defeated, he would never linger on. Death was the best ending for him. I have already buried his bones in the ancestral land of the Zhan clan. Don't worry. Before he left, he told me that if he lost, he wouldn't live. I don't care too much about it. We have long been indifferent to life and death. Zhang Gu said in a low voice. Come everyone, let's pay respects to the martyrs first. Then let's drink and talk about what we have learned over the years. Gu Qingyu and the others held a jar of wine and walked towards the place of the martyrs. Inside the crazy sect, a valley was flattened. A tombstone that was thousands of feet tall rose from the ground. It was more than 100 feet wide. It was carved out of a mountain and was very flat. At the top, the words Martyrs Monument were engraved. Below it were densely engraved names. Some belonged to the human race, and some belonged to the 10,000 races. As long as one remembered the name of the battle back then, it was engraved on the monument. Yi Qinghan was ranked second, and Great Emperor Fusu was ranked first. There were dozens of small graves in the valley, but they were just cenotaphs. There was nothing inside. The cenotaphs of Great Emperor Fusu, Yi Qinghan, and dozens of quasi-emperors. More than 40 superclass experts were all dressed in black. They held jars of wine in their hands and raised them above their heads. They poured half of the wine and bowed deeply 3 times. There was no need to say anything because they were all participating in the battle. Hua. The wine seeped into the ground and the atmosphere became oppressive. Si Wuxia, Li Jiucheng, and the others came in front of Yi Qinghan's tombstone and paid their respects alone. This was already a habit. The crowd retreated, giving them some space and time alone. Emperor Yi stepped into the imperial domain and turned into a wisp of immortal shadow. He quickly disappeared without alerting anyone. Stepping through the periphery of the eternal battlefield and the ancestral land, Emperor Yi came to the center of the imperial domain. Looking at the dilapidated Emperor Abyss City and the barren land, he had a bad premonition. He turned around and stepped toward the insane sect. The insane sect no longer had any external forces. There were only a dozen people left. The external Great Formation had been built, exactly the same as before. Emperor Yi was familiar with the Great Formation. He entered the insane sect without alerting anyone. Dozens of experts sat cross-legged on the martial arts field of the insane sect. Many of them were unfamiliar. Emperor Yi's silent arrival surprised them. Lu Outyin only knew Emperor Yi when he was young. Now his temperament had changed greatly. He was surrounded by immortal qi and his skin was smooth. He had only seen such an arrogant aura on Shinong Qingyan. Qitian Monkey King recognized Emperor Yi and said in surprise, "So it's Taoist Emperor Yi. Where have you been all these years?" "You are Ren Huangyi." Lu Outyin was astonished. The child who didn't even have the strength to truss a chicken had actually grown to this extent. "Greetings, Taoist friends." "Greetings, Crown Prince." Emperor Yi bowed slightly and looked at Lu Outyin. It was as if he was thinking of his childhood. A trace of emotion flashed through his heart. Emperor Yi glanced around and expanded his divine sense. He found that the people of the insane sect were all in the outer valley. He stepped forward and looked at the martyr's monument. The second name was Yi Qinghan. His vision turned black and he fell backward. "Senior sister." "Son." Everyone was shocked. Jianchen Xue stepped forward and hugged Emperor Yi. She found that she could not take the blow and fainted. Xia Ziluo and the others also followed. They could not help but sigh. In terms of feelings, perhaps no one was more dependent on Yi Qinghan than Emperor Yi. Even if she attained Dao in the future, she could not leave. This time, she saw Yi Qinghan's tombstone as soon as she came back. Obviously, she could not take it. Jianchen Xue carried Emperor Yi back to the inner sect and slowly adjusted her soul and true essence. She only woke up after an hour. Whoosh! Emperor Yi grabbed Jianchen Xue. Pearl-like tears poured out. He cried, "Sister Xue, how could Master die in battle? Is this a lie? I want to open the coffin and examine the body." "Son, don't make a fuss." Jianchen Xue's emotions were affected. Tears fell like rain. She cried, "Brother Qinghan's body is buried in the ancestral land of the human race. You and I can no longer enter. The tombstone of the insane sect is just a cenotaph." "Who killed him? Tell me who killed him." Emperor Yi roared. The divine Guqin imprint burst out with a terrifying light. He fell into madness. Wind and clouds rose between heaven and earth. The entire imperial domain was filled with a tragic melody. Murderous aura rose from all directions and gradually filled the outside of the imperial domain. "It's the Forbidden Land. I'll pass the plot of that year to you," Jianchen Xue said sadly. Then she gently touched Emperor Yi's forehead with her jade-like finger, and passed the scene of that year to Emperor Yi. Emperor Yi trembled all over. He covered his face and cried. After a long time, he stood up with his Guqin, and stepped directly into the territory of the Yin-Yang 8 tribes. He stepped on the void and the melody rose. The tragic and angry melody stirred the qi and blood of all living beings. It was earth-shattering. "Traitor! I'll kill you today. I swear I'm not human if I don't destroy the Forbidden Land." Emperor Yi roared to the sky. His black hair wrapped around the sky. His white hair was like snow. It shook the world. In October, it snowed heavily. Chapter 380. The people in Kuang sect were shocked when they saw Emperor Yi rushing out of Kuang sect. Emperor Yi wants to take revenge on the Yin-Yang 8 tribes. How can we just stand by and watch? Xia Ziluo hated the Yin-Yang 8 to the core. The Yin-Yang 8 was like a thorn stuck in her throat. She wanted to pull it out all the time. If it weren't for the Yin-Yang 8 and the remnant sect joining forces, this battle would have started long ago. Let's go. It's time to clean up the sect. Those who betrayed us will not have a good ending. Yin Yunbei soared into the sky and took the lead. Di Longtian left. He had completely matured now, and even had the potential to suppress Si Wuxia. He was extremely powerful. Xia Ziluo, Yi Linchen Zitian, Gu Qingyu, and the others took the lead and rushed towards Emperor Yi. This battle was started by the younger generation, and the traitors were destined to be destroyed. The sky has changed. Di Shang woke up from his seclusion. His eyes were like stars as he drew his sword and walked out of the ancient massacre god, heading towards Kuang sect. Shenong Qingyan was still flipping through ancient books, studying the history of the Savage Era. She found that the Savage Era ended mysteriously. Some of the human ancestors had disappeared as if they had gone to another dimension. Suddenly, Shenong Qingyan's brows twitched slightly. She turned to look at Emperor Domain, and found that snow had covered the entire Emperor Domain in the blink of an eye. A tragic melody filled with anger and killing intent enveloped the heavenly river. It made her feel like she had returned to the Bangkok era, as if she saw the Zither Emperor playing the zither, and causing the world to collapse. Zither immortal crimson demon physique? Shenong Qingyan was shocked. She had seen the Zither Emperor Mu Tianqian in the past and saw the human emperor's demeanor. She had never thought that she would be able to see another Zither immortal crimson demon physique after 1,000,000 years. Hua Shenong Qingyan closed the iron scroll and instantly traveled 10,000 miles, appearing in front of the heroes, her immortal robe cold. Lu Ao Tian was overjoyed. He did not expect Shenong Qingyan to appear at this moment. He quickly said, "Fairy, are you willing to lend us a hand and help the human race clean up the traitors from back then?" Emperor-level experts were not easy to deal with. They could not be defeated by the accumulation of numbers. Not many were as strong as Yi Qinghan. With the help of the 4 divine beasts, he could stand shoulder to shoulder with an emperor-level expert. With the help of the emperor corpse of the Tianwu Emperor, he could sweep through the battlefield. If Shenong Qingyan helped, their chances would naturally be much higher. Shenong Qingyan nodded slightly. She looked into the distance and saw a strand of white hair fluttering in the wind. She could not help but nod. However, before she could say anything, she suddenly turned to the east and said indifferently, "I'm afraid it won't be that easy. There is another Emperor realm expert in the Eastern Sea. Furthermore, his cultivation is very strong. His resentment seems very strong." What? Everyone was shocked. They didn't know that there was another martial emperor in the imperial region. Have you forgotten? Back then, Brother Yi lured the ghost emperor away, but he still hasn't appeared. Could it be the ghost emperor? Xia Qiyue suddenly thought of the past, and her expression turned ugly. If it was the ghost emperor, he would definitely come for the Kuang sect. Yi Qinghan and the divine bird had caused the ghost emperor to suffer. This hatred was probably deeper than the sea. You don't have to worry too much. Go to the Yin Yang 8 groups. Leave this ghost emperor to me. Although I can't kill him, delaying him for 3 to 5 months should not be a problem, Shenong Qingyan said indifferently. I will lead the army to support you, Lu Outyin said, a little worried. No need. You will only be a burden to me if you go, Shenong Qingyan said proudly. Back then, she had met many great emperors. Because of Shenong, she had mingled with great emperors since she was young. The benefits she had received were incomparable. Furthermore, since Shenong had sealed her, he would definitely have left her with many life-saving items. Swish, Shenong Qingyan stepped into the eastern wasteland ahead of time, heading straight for the Eastern Sea. She wanted to stop the Ghost Emperor outside the Imperial region. Outside the Remnant sect, Di Shang stood proudly, facing off against Tianmu and Xing Luo. Daoist Tianmu, can you just stand by and do nothing this time? Di Shang asked in a low voice. Daoist Di Shang, if the Yin Yang 8 groups are destroyed, how can my remnant sect stand? Tianmu and Xing Luo frowned and shouted. Sai, thank you for standing on the side of the endless universe in that battle back then. If it weren't for you, the endless universe might have already been destroyed. Why bother protecting a traitor, and let your reputation be ruined? Di Shang advised. I stand on the side of the endless universe because I am a human, and not an undead spirit. However, the world is at peace now, and the endless universe must maintain its balance. This is an unchanging truth. Nowadays, other than some secluded forces, most of the hidden forces have more or less offended the Kuang sect. You want me to stand by and do nothing? Are you trying to push my remnant sect to hell? Tianmu and Xing Luo questioned. I have heard a little about the hatred between Nangong Pawu and Yi Qinghan. I will not interfere. His disciple wants revenge, and he must face it. However, I can guarantee that my remnant sect and the Kuang sect will not go to war, as long as you are willing to give up on Nangong Pawu. What do you think? If I give up on the core disciple, the people of my remnant sect will be scattered. I cannot agree to this kind of encroachment. Tianmu and Xing Luo scolded coldly. Di Shang was helpless. He really did not want to go to war with Tianmu and Xing Luo. He had stood on the side of the human race in the past, and this kindness had to be repaid. If you want to help the Yin Yang 8 tribes, I might only be able to stop you, but I can't stop the other disciples. However, your decision will only push the remnants of the sect into the position of traitors. I, the ancient god of massacre, will not stand by and do nothing to deal with traitors. The entire human race will not stand by and do nothing. Now that the path of divine martial arts no longer exists, do you want to push the path of remnant martial arts into a state of eternal damnation? Di Shang snorted coldly. Emperor Yi? Who is that? Tianmu and Xing Luo frowned. They did not know Emperor Yi. They had never even heard of him. He is Yi Qinghan's chief disciple. Emperor Yi has followed Qinghan since he was young. Di Shang was about to explain, but Tianmu and Xing Luo interrupted him. Ha ha ha, I admire Yi Qinghan's battle prowess, but can a disciple like him overturn the heavens? If Yi Qinghan went crazy, I would be afraid, but if his disciple went crazy, I would just treat it as a joke. Tianmu and Xing Luo laughed wildly. Emperor Yi has the zither immortal crimson demon body. Back in the day, she was even stronger than Yi Qinghan at the same level. You treat her as a joke, but I think you are the joke, Di Shang scolded disdainfully. Tianmu and Xing Luo's pupils shrank, and their bodies trembled. They were speechless. Yi Qinghan's battle prowess at the same level had already shocked them, but Emperor Yi's battle prowess was even stronger than his. Just how strong was Emperor Yi? The Yin Yang Star Zone. This was the headquarters of the Yin Yang 8 tribes. There were a total of 9 main planets and countless living beings. At this moment, the entire star zone was covered in snow. Yin Yang Dongfei stood outside the palace, his brows tightly knitted. Is the heavens about to change again? Yin Yang Dongfei's gaze was cold as he looked into the void. Gather the 8 tribes and prepare for battle. Swish, a figure flashed past, and the Yin Yang 8 tribes all began to move. Everyone above the immortal realm on the main planets gathered. Yin Yang Dongfei, come and die. A heavenly voice filled with dense killing intent resounded through the galaxy. A strand of zither music spread out. It was so powerful. Emperor Yi had white hair and red eyes. He carried a divine zither and was the first to arrive at the Yin Yang Star Zone. He didn't care that Yin Yang Dongfei was an emperor-level expert, nor did he care that the 8 tribes all had quasi-emperors. The zither immortal crimson demon body ignored numbers, and only cared about individual battle prowess. Yin Yang Dongfei frowned. He didn't know Emperor Yi. When the hidden noble families appeared, Emperor Yi was already on a deserted island in the Celestial Sea. A little girl who's still wet behind the ears dares to provoke the leader of my tribe. Die. Whoosh! An expert at the pinnacle of the divine martial realm charged into the void, wanting to make a contribution. He used all his battle prowess, and the Tao of Yin and Yang filled the universe. He was definitely a top-tier expert in the divine martial realm. He was extremely fast, and in the blink of an eye, he was 1,000 miles away from Emperor Yi. Emperor Yi opened his eyes, and a strand of wool filled the sky. With a gentle wave, the zither music turned into a blade that pierced through the void. That expert was still 1,000 miles away, but his body was suddenly torn apart. His blood stained the void, and he died tragically on the spot. Yin Yang Dongfei, I must kill you today. You'd better obediently come to your death. I'll only give you 3 breaths of time. If you don't come up, I'll go down. When that time comes, I'll bury all the living beings on your planet. Emperor Yi approached the main planet and said coldly. Emperor Yi had feelings, but all of her heart and soul was devoted to Yi Qinghan. The Guangzhong only got half of it. She was heartless to the world. To her, killing people was just revenge. For Yi Qinghan, so what if she slaughtered all the living beings? Yin Yang Dongfei sneered and waved his hand. A powerful boundary emperor rushed into the sky and attacked Emperor Yi. Whoosh! Emperor Yi grunted and played the zither again. One of the zither strings was pulled into a half-moon shape. He gently released it, and a strand of zither music turned into a divine arrow that pierced through the void. It was formless, and there was no ripple in the space. It directly pierced through the body of the boundary emperor. The zither music was vast and mighty, destroying all of his vitality. His corpse fell from the sky. The people from the Yin Yang 8 sucked in a breath of cold air. This kind of shocking technique was actually done by a young woman. Yin Yang Dongfei saw Emperor Ye's physique. The divine zither was the zither of the human emperor, and the zither of the human emperor alone was enough to make him suffer. Therefore he didn't go up. Instead he sent people to attack and exhaust Emperor Ye's vital energy. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Hundreds of figures rode the wind and broke through the waves from the various main planets. There were fake emperors, divine martial realm cultivators, and some of them were immortal sections. They directly attacked Emperor Yi. Emperor Yi was indifferent. He stood in the sky above the center of the 9 stars and sat cross-legged. His 10 fingers plucked the zither strings, and the yin and yang of heaven and earth reversed. The order changed and the melody stirred the blood of the heroes. The flow of blood was no longer under his control, and his vital energy began to surge. The hundreds of experts were shocked. The closer they got to Emperor Yi, the stronger the aura of death became. Whoosh! The tragic melody was vast and mighty. Emperor Yi plucked the zither strings faster and faster. The hundreds of experts all lost control. Their blood vessels burst, and in the end their bodies couldn't stop their blood from gushing out. Boom! Hundreds of experts self-destructed at the same time, illuminating the yin-yang galaxy. It was gorgeous and colorful. Chapter 381. The yin-yang galaxy was dead silent. At this moment, time seemed to have stopped. Hundreds of strong cultivators were forced to self-destruct before they could even reach Emperor Yi. Yin Yang Dongfei sucked in a breath of cold air. He took a step out of the main planet and confronted Emperor Yi from thousands of miles away. Who are you? You and I have no grudge against each other, but you have killed so many people in the yin-yang galaxy. I didn't want to be calculative because you have the zither immortal crimson demon body, a future great emperor. But don't you think you've gone too far? Yin Yang Dongfei scolded coldly. Yin Yang Dongfei made it sound nice. Not calculative. He had to have the ability to do so. The history of the Emperor's zither was longer than the Guardian's sword. It might be even stronger and could suppress him. With the zither immortal crimson demon body, Yin Yang Dongfei would most likely die if he fought him head-on. Emperor Yi stood up slowly and looked down at Yin Yang Dongfei. He said indifferently, "If you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish. I'm Emperor Yi, Yi Qinghan's disciple. You've lived long enough. Today, I represent the human race to clean house." Yi Qinghan's disciple? Yin Yang Dongfei was shocked. He didn't expect Yi Qinghan to have another disciple other than Si Wuxia. Moreover, his combat power was far beyond Si Wuxia's. I have no grudge against Yi Qinghan. Yin Yang Dongfei didn't want to offend the Kuang sect, nor did he want to fight Emperor Yi to the death. He could only explain. Grudge? The dead spirits are out. It's fine if you don't help the endless universe, but you help the dead spirits attack the human race. Everyone has the right to kill you. My master didn't die by your hands, but died because of your restraint. You'll be buried with him. Emperor Yi was furious. He played the zither with his 5 fingers. Buzz. Boom. Yin and yang reversed. The melody was violent. The spiritual energy between heaven and earth rushed in reverse, forming countless dragons. Finally, they converged into 2 giant dragons. With Emperor Yi as the center, they formed a huge yin-yang 8 trigrams array that provided energy. Whoosh 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 whoosh. 9 divine arrows shot out in a row, tearing through the void and converging into a heavenly divine arrow. It destroyed everything in its path, ignoring time and space as it appeared in front of yin-yang flying east. Yin and yang become one. The great Tao appears. Yin Yang Dongfei was shocked. He flew backward continuously and formed a seal with his palms at the same time. The great Tao of Yin and Yang appeared in the mortal world and blasted toward the divine arrow. Boom! The divine arrow collided with the great Tao of Yin and Yang. Instantly, the sky collapsed and the earth cracked. Time and space shook. The 8 trigrams around Emperor Ye's body spun faster and faster, and the extent of the spiritual chi's pulsation became stronger and stronger. It kept reinforcing the divine arrow, and the divine arrow showed no signs of collapsing in the face of the great path. Crack! Yin Yang Dongfei's foot shattered space and time. He unleashed his full combat power to block the attack. Although he couldn't crush Emperor Yi, he didn't retreat an inch. Emperor Ye's entire body glowed with divine light as the crimson demon body burst forth. His consciousness was clear as the great Tao patterns and the profundities of the laws were all revealed. He stood tall and proud as his battle robe fluttered in the wind. His jade-like fingers lightly pinched the strings of the guqin. And with a sudden tug, the strings were twisted. Ding! Boom! The sky-severing hand blended into the divine law, and the rapid sound of the air being torn apart could be heard clearly from tens of thousands of miles away. Vital essence poured out from Emperor Ye's hands, and formed a giant hand that covered the sky. It cut the void of the heavenly river into 2 and attacked from the right, heading straight for Yin Yang Dongfei. Yin Yang Dongfei was shocked. He didn't expect Emperor Yi to attack again. He hurriedly withdrew one hand and formed a seal with one hand. He roared, "Yin Yang Fusion Blade! Break for me!" Hua! Yin Yang Fusion Blade against the sky-severing hand. One was indestructible, and the other could split heaven and earth. In an instant, the sky collapsed as the two collided. Yin Yang Dongfei's preparation was too hasty, and it didn't have enough power. It was directly shattered by the giant hand. The giant hand that covered the sky cut horizontally and blasted toward Yin Yang Dongfei. Buzz buzz buzz, Emperor Ye's attacks were endless. The veins on his body bulged, and he didn't care about his life at all. Before the first move was over, he had already blasted his second move, followed by a third. His 10 fingers plucked the strings of the zither, and the melody stirred the blood and qi. It suppressed the sky and made it wail. The tragic melody seemed to have come from ancient times, affecting the blood and qi of the entire Yin-Yang starfield. Heavenly Dipper Zither Sonic Explosion. Ci. Boom boom boom. The terrifying sound was heart-rending and ear-piercing. Countless people held their heads and screamed. Their blood and qi surged, and their vital essence tore their bodies apart. Their vital essence was churning, and they could explode at any time. The Yin-Yang 8 parts were in chaos. Emperor Yi was too strong, and the divine zither was even more terrifying. It had increased Emperor Ye's battle strength by 100-fold, making him equivalent to an emperor. The aftermath of a battle between 2 emperors was enough to destroy an entire starfield. Yin Yang Dongfei roared in horror and retreated. If this continued, the entire Yin-Yang starfield would be destroyed before he died. The Yin-Yang school that had been passed down for 1,000,000 years would disappear completely. Emperor Yi, you're so vicious. You're of the human emperor's bloodline. Why do you ignore the innocent? Yin-Yang Dongfei's face was red. He was using a lot of energy to suppress the restless vital essence in his body. He couldn't help his people at all. I have feelings, but you cut off my path of feelings. You're courting death. Today, Yin-Yang 8 parts Tao Master, and above will die if you want to stay alive. Emperor Yi was indifferent. His fingertips were cut by the divine zither, and blood flowed. The zither immortal crimson demon bloodline stimulated the divine zither, and the divine zither became even more terrifying. Divine light shot out in all directions, and the melody became more soul-stirring. Yin-Yang Dongfei was shocked. He didn't expect Emperor Yi to be so strong that he could suppress him alone. The eccentric sex people were already here, and the Yin-Yang 8 parts would definitely lose. Yin-Yang Dongfei immediately raised his head and roared. Tianmu Xinglua, does our agreement still count? Do you think the Yin-Yang school can survive alone if it's destroyed? Tianmu Xinglua and Emperor Shang looked at the battlefield from afar. They were shocked. If anyone dared to say that Emperor Yi was a joke, they would definitely be slapped to death. No one can save a traitor today. If I want to kill you, no one can stop me. Emperor Yi was violent and overbearing. Yin-Yang Dongfei was forced to retreat. You're a beautiful person, But why are you a traitor? How are you different from the forbidden land of the dead souls? Yin Yang Dongfei was furious. He didn't dare to force Emperor Yi anymore. He only wanted to persuade him. Master is gone, so I'll change yin and yang. I'll kill all the traitors and dye the sky red with blood to pay tribute to his soul in heaven. Boom. The Zongdi chant reverberated through the clouds. Those with weak Dao hearts were instantly crushed. Those above the level of Dao Master were all attacked, but those below the level of Dao Master were not affected at all. They only felt sadness in their hearts. The aura of heaven and earth changed. Snow roared. Emperor Yi said that he was emotionless, but she was weak. How could she be truly emotionless? Therefore, she only used the melody to attack those above the level of Dao Master. Those below the level of Dao Master were just mortals. She didn't want to kill too many. Boom boom boom. Those at the level of Dao Master couldn't control their sea of energy at all. It was as if the Emperor was controlling it. They wanted to break through to the next level, but their bodies couldn't withstand it. Their blood vessels exploded, and their sea of energy exploded. They became the first batch of people to self-destruct. Countless bodies were torn apart. Blood dyed the sky red. Many people laughed bitterly. The feeling of breaking through made them excited. But at the last moment, they realized that they could die at night. Boom, boom, boom. Many people rushed into the clouds. They didn't want to self-destruct and kill their own people. They died tragically. Countless strong cultivators were like moths to a flame. The Dao Masters died in 10 breaths. Then came the great martial masters. They only lasted for 5 breaths before they were wiped out. This was a one-sided massacre. One person slaughtered the entire stellar region. Emperor Ye's eyes were filled with tears. The massacre didn't bring her any pleasure. Instead, it made her feel sad. The massacre had already begun. Blood spurted from Emperor Ye's 10 fingers. The melody between heaven and earth was grand and majestic, sweeping up a great force that affected the surrounding dead stars. Countless mountains and rocks exploded, and stone fragments covered the sky. Yin Yang Dongfei tried his best to suppress himself. The anger and hatred in his eyes were extremely strong. He formed a seal with his palms and poured out his vital essence. Yin Yang against the heavens. I'll kill you. Whoosh. Yin Yang reincarnation sucked everything away. A huge black hole rolled toward Emperor Yi. It wanted to devour Emperor Yi. Zither transformation. Emperor Yi suddenly became one with the Emperor's zither. It grew to 1,000,000 feet tall. The zither strings trembled. Heaven fell and earth cracked. Countless strong cultivators were shaken to death. At this moment, even mortals couldn't escape. No matter how wary Emperor Yi was of them, he would still shatter their energy reserves and make them faint on the spot. The melody became even more violent. It ignored the yin-yang reincarnation black hole and stood there, allowing the black hole to devour the zither. Whoosh. The zither was submerged and disappeared without a trace. Ha, she's dead. The patriarch won. The yin-yang 8 groups were all dead. Only the strong cultivators were roaring. The excitement of escaping death made them cry with joy. Yin Yang Dongfei frowned. He couldn't believe that he had killed Emperor Yi just like that. Why didn't Emperor Yi dodge? The reincarnation black hole's tearing force was enough to tear apart the stars. However, the zither stood proudly and majestically. It allowed the astral winds to tear it apart. The zither's strings were almost torn apart. The rebounding force came out. The 1,000,000 feet long zither was restless. The yin-yang reincarnation black hole controlled by Yin Yang Dongfei exploded. Boom. The zither broke through space and stood in front of Yin Yang Dongfei. A melody ignored space and blasted into his sea of consciousness. Puff! Yin Yang Dongfei spat out a mouthful of essence blood. His vision darkened, and his soul was almost destroyed by the zither. He fell toward the yin-yang main star. Emperor Heart Execution. Boom. Emperor Yi did not have the slightest bit of mercy. His 10 fingers pulled back on the guqin strings, and abruptly slammed into Yin Yang Dongfei's broken body. The imperial body was directly smashed into the main planet, and the planet was almost smashed apart. Yin Yang Dongfei coughed up blood and almost fainted. Emperor Shang, Tianmu, and Xinghua were shocked. They hadn't seen Emperor Ye's battle strength when he was young, but they could compare. Emperor Ye's battle strength was definitely greater than Emperor Ye's when he was young. 9 Heavens Tyrant Dragon Art. 3rd Style. Emperor Yi used Yi Qinghan's secret technique. Back then, the two of them had become one. They were familiar with each other's techniques. Today, if he wanted to take revenge, he would let Yinyang Dongfei die under Yi Qinghan's secret technique. Only then would he be able to rest in peace. The Yinyang main star was torn apart. The Yinyang main star's territory was being torn apart. The stars were about to be torn apart. The Yinyang main star's powerful cultivators couldn't resist at all. Even the boundary emperors were swallowed and turned into terrifying energy to strengthen the whirlpool. Yinyang Dongfei's broken body spurted blood everywhere. His palms sucked the earth, trying to resist Emperor Ye's tearing. His eyes were filled with shock. His strength was increasing, and he wanted to escape. Chapter 382. On the Yinyang main star, the heavenly dragon coiled around and sucked away all the water on the main star. Yinyang East Fly's flesh and blood splattered everywhere, as his golden bones emitted a terrifying aura. His face was ferocious as he roared. Hua hua hua. The heavenly dragon was tyrannical. With the support of the divine zither, true yuan poured into the scarlet demon's body. The heavenly dragon spun at a terrifying speed and tore off Yinyang East Fly's fingers. Roar. The dragon head dived down and opened its mouth, colliding with the tearing force. The Yinyang main star was shattered and Yinyang East Fly's leg bones were broken. He knelt on the ground and Emperor blood poured out. This attack had used up all of Emperor Ye's strength. Even the divine zither dimmed. Kacha. Yinyang East Fly turned into a pool of flesh and blood. His battle bones crumbled and turned into dust. His soul could not escape as his vitality was crushed into nothingness. I can't accept this. Yinyang East Fly never thought that he would die in the hands of a junior. Even if he died in the hands of Emperor Shang, he would not feel so unsatisfied. However, Emperor Yi was Yi Qinghan's disciple and a junior. He was only at the peak of the middle stage of the divine martial realm, and had not yet reached the peak of the divine martial realm. Even with the zither immortal scarlet demon physique and the help of the divine zither, the ability to kill someone above his level made him feel shocked and helpless. He could only cry out in anger. One of the main planets was torn apart. Countless creatures died tragically. The Yin and Yang main branch was completely annihilated. Only the 8 tribes were left. They stood there dumbfounded and did not even have the thought of running away. This was because the elites of the insane sect and the endless universe were divided into 8 groups. They landed on the 8 planets respectively, and began a terrifying battle. The Boundary Emperor was killed by Qitian Monkey King and the others. The rest of the people had no power to resist at all. More than 40 people, including Yan Yunbei and Yi Linshan, started the massacre. The Yinyang 8 tribes had lived for more than 300 years. It was time for them to disappear. Emperor Yi stood on the main star tiredly. He saw that Yinyang East Fly's flesh was still wriggling, and that there was still some vitality left. He could not help but laugh coldly and waved his hand. The great Tao of destruction descended and completely suppressed Yinyang East Fly. A great emperor-level figure had died just like that. It couldn't be said that he wasn't powerful. It could only be said that Ren Huangyi was heaven-defying. Ren Huangguqin was overbearing. In addition, Ren Huangyi already had the will to die. He didn't think about Angelica at all. It wasn't surprising that the power that erupted from him could kill a great emperor-level figure. Screech, the god-slaying eagle, circled in the air, crying out in a low voice. It was filled with grief and despair. Yi Qinghan was dead, which meant that her husband, who was a dual cultivator, was also dead. The god-slaying eagle couldn't sense the slightest fluctuation of her husband's soul at all. It firmly believed that Yi Qinghan was truly dead. At this moment, all it could do was comfort Ren Huangyi and hope that she would grow up and flatten the Forbidden Land, eliminating all future troubles. Emperor Yi looked at the lifeless star, and his expression was gloomy. He hugged the god-slaying eagle dispiritedly and said in a low voice, "Take me to Tianhai. I'm so tired." Oh! The god-slaying eagle returned to its original form, and its 1,000-foot-long golden body soared into the sky. Emperor Yi came back, but he had no reason to stay. He left again. No one knew where he was going, but no one dared to stop him. When Tianmu and Xinglua saw Emperor Yi leave, they couldn't help but let out a sigh of relief. The people of the insane sect were still rational, but Emperor Yi wasn't. He didn't say anything, he only knew how to kill. Now that she was gone, Emperor Shang could protect the innocent people of the insane sect. Eastern Sea. Shinong Qingyan hugged the ancient reincarnation sword and stood at the peak of the Eastern Sea. In the depths of the Eastern Sea, a terrifying power was rapidly recovering. There were countless life forces in the deep sea, but at this moment, huge beasts were constantly emerging from the water. They were devoid of life, and their flesh and blood had been devoured. Only their bones were left, as if they had been dead for tens of thousands of years. Swish, swish, swish. Countless ferocious beasts struggled and roared. Waves surged into the sky, but their lives could not be saved. A layer of skeletons floated above the Eastern Sea. Even the little fishes couldn't escape. All of them died, and the waters of the Eastern Sea were dyed red. Shino curled her lips and casually grabbed a powerful creature. She took out a small bottle, poured out a pink pill, and threw it into the creature's mouth. Then she placed it into the sea. That powerful sea fish was constantly being pulled by the suction force into the depths of the sea. It couldn't break free at all, and its life force was disappearing. However, the pink pill in its stomach was constantly replenishing its life force. The pill became smaller and smaller, but it was still able to save its life. The Ghost Emperor had almost turned the entire Eastern Sea into a purgatory. As long as there was life force, he would devour it. His strength surpassed that of an ordinary monarch, but he still didn't give up. It was as if he wanted to break free from the shackles and successfully prove his Tao. The pink pill in the fish's stomach shrank by half. The outer layer of the divine medicine gradually dispersed and filled the entire body. However, the pill changed color and became black. It intertwined with the divine medicine, and the two entangled. The fish rolled around in pain. Its soul was instantly killed by the poison, but the life force of its body was still there. The divine medicine was also unaffected. At this moment, the Ghost Emperor didn't expect the blood of this sea fish to be filled with poison. He reached out and grabbed it. Blood spurted out, but the fish's life force didn't dissipate at all. It was directly devoured, and the blood wasn't wasted either. Shino Qingyan shrugged her shoulders and playfully muttered to herself, "The divine poison pill that Daddy personally refined. The outer layer is wrapped with the most valuable saint medicine, and can heal any injuries in the world. However, the poison inside can torment a Tao-confirming great emperor to the brink of death. Sigh, there was only one, and it was wasted just like that." Ah! The Ghost Emperor, who was crazily slaughtering just a second ago, suddenly hugged his head and screamed. His soul felt as if it was being roasted and torn apart by a ninth-grade divine flame. His face was ferocious, and he directly rushed out of the sea. His life force was vigorous, but his soul was twisted and torn apart. The pain was unbearable. The angry roar pierced through the clouds. It was sharp and ear-piercing, and it resounded throughout the entire sovereign region. Even Di Shang, Tianmu, and Xing Luo, who were a million miles away, felt a chill run down their spines. They immediately rushed over, and when they saw the Ghost Emperor screaming miserably, their bodies couldn't help but tremble. The strongest poison that Shino had refined was the one that had killed a great emperor. This one was considered above average. It couldn't kill a great emperor, but it could torture a great emperor to the point of kneeling and begging. The Ghost Emperor had yet to prove his Tao. Although his soul was at the peak of the emperor realm, he still couldn't resist this poison. "Kakik, how does it taste?" Shino covered her mouth and smiled faintly as she teased. The Ghost Emperor rolled around in the Eastern Sea. He felt as if there were countless termites gnawing on his brain. His 10 fingers were almost digging into his brain. He really wanted to rip his head open and suppress his soul. "Ah, I beg you, the antidote." The Ghost Emperor went crazy. Although there was hatred in his eyes, he didn't dare to talk back. At this moment, he couldn't bear to live another breath. However, he didn't want to die, so he could only beg Shino Qingyan. "Antidote. You already wasted one of my divine poison pills, and you still want to waste one of my antidote? How greedy." Shino Qingyan curled her lips and said, "Greedy?" Di Shang, Tianmu, and Xing Luo's faces were pale as they looked at Shino Qingyan. How was this the daughter of the human ancestor, or a fairy from the 9 heavens? She was clearly a little demoness. She was the one who poisoned him, and now she was blaming others for being greedy. What kind of logic was this? Luckily, I didn't offend her. Di Shang, Tianmu, and Xing Luo said in unison, "I beg you spare me. I am willing to submit." Ah! The Ghost Emperor clawed at his own head. 10,000 ants gnawing at his heart couldn't even describe the pain he was feeling at this moment. He could only rely on self-mutilation to alleviate the pain in his soul. The Ghost Emperor was really going crazy. A few hundred years ago, when he was in his prime, he was tricked by Yi Qinghan and the parrot several times. He was almost burned to death by the Golden Crow. Only then did he come out of seclusion. Before he could take revenge on Yi Qinghan, he was played by Shino Qingyan again. The unluckiest person in the entire universe was probably him. Submit? Shino Qingyan scratched her head and muttered to herself. Your battle strength is not bad. I want to find out where my father went, and I need you to lead the way for me. I beg you. I can't take it anymore. Ah. The Ghost Emperor knelt down and kowtowed continuously. He almost tore his skull apart, and blood spurted out from his 7 orifices. His soul was weakened, and it looked like he couldn't hold on any longer. Shino Qingyan made up her mind, and a cunning light flashed across her eyes. She tossed a golden divine pill to the Ghost Emperor. The Ghost Emperor couldn't care less at this moment. He didn't want to suffer for even a second. No matter what pill Shino Qingyan gave him, he swallowed it, and the pain in his soul quickly decreased. Ah, I am going to kill you. The Ghost Emperor thought that it was really the antidote, and he instantly roared. His black iron claws tore through the void and grabbed at Shino Qingyan. Kakik! You idiot, I knew you weren't sincere, so the pill I gave you was only a temporary antidote. If you don't have the antidote after 5 minutes, your pain will be 10 times worse than before. You can play by yourself. This princess won't accompany you. Shino Qingyan's laughter was like the sound of nature, but it was even more destructive than a monarch weapon. It shook the Ghost Emperor until his face turned pale. When the Ghost Emperor thought of the pain in the later stages, he immediately went crazy. His 10 fingers reached into the sky, imprisoning heaven and earth. The entire sky above the eastern sea was locked down by him. You dare to trick me? I will make you pay the price. The Ghost Emperor roared. After I kill you, I will naturally find the antidote. Is that so? Then see if you can imprison this princess. Shino Qingyan grinned, revealing a row of white teeth. She was as beautiful as a demon, and right under the eyes of the Ghost Emperor, Di Shang, and the others, her figure gradually faded and disappeared without a trace. The Ghost Emperor's pupils shrank. She was nowhere to be seen in his domain. She actually left the Emperor's domain without using the law of space. Kakik, so naughty, you actually tricked this princess. If you don't beg me after 5 minutes, you won't even have the ability to commit suicide. So, while you can still move, kill yourself now. The next moment, Shino Qingyan appeared 10,000 miles away, and looked down at everyone with a cunning smile. The Ghost Emperor's body trembled, anxious and angry. He looked at the unfamiliar Shino Qingyan, as if he was looking at a little witch. Who are you? I have no enmity with you. Why do you want to harm me? The Ghost Emperor roared, not daring to attack again. Shino Qingyan shrugged and curled her lips. This princess has always been benevolent and kind to people. I will not harm the lives of ants. Just now, I released an ocean fish, but you ate it. You actually said that this princess wants to harm you? You are the one who cries first. Annoying, I won't play with you anymore. After speaking, Shino Qingyan turned to leave. The Ghost Emperor was so angry that his body trembled. Seeing Shino Qingyan turn to leave, he directly knelt on the ground, not caring about his face and dignity. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.